Across the UK, online and on DAB. Access all radios.
Talk Radio. Give it some lip. Talk Radio.
Busy show. We got Louis Barfe talking about Neil Shand and classic comedy. After 11, we've got Professor Joe Laevens on to talk about those mysterious new planets. And in between those, your phone calls. 0344 499 1000. Late Nights with Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
Late Night, Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
We have ways of making you talk.
It's an obscure one. It's a very obscure one. Anyone? Guys? Anyone? Oh, it's an obscure one to kick off with, isn't it? Good evening, dear listener. My name is Iain Lee. This is Late Nights with Iain Lee on Talk Radio. Thank you to Baldy and the Tramp as they waft out of here in what can only be described as a stench. Busy show this evening. After 11, we've got Professor Joseph Laevens on to talk about the new planets, and to talk about the possibilities of there being life on those planets. And also, he'll be taking your calls. And he knows everything about UFOs, the supernatural, or the occult. And he's a scientist, and he has studied these things and can answer any of your questions. So that's coming up. Before that, fans of Twitter, fans of swearing, fans of anger, fans of people being told exactly where to go, might be interested in my next guest. It's a gentleman called Louis Barfe, who is I'm going to describe you as an expert on British comedy, Louis, and I know that's quite lazy, but you'll just have to deal with it, I'm afraid.
Well, yeah, I'm just glad that you put me straight on after all that fake news so I can give your listeners some truth.
Well, that's what you say, you cuck snowflake. I know.
I'm standing in front of my mat, for God's sake.
Did you recognise the theme tune I played?
I did. Do you want me to give it away?
Yeah, no, go on, because the idiots listening won't know.
Kelly Monteith. And, of course, it's that great Ronnie Hazelhurst thing of you can sing the title.
Yeah.
Kelly Monteith. Kelly Monteith.
I think me and my sister are the only people that remember the Kelly Monteith show. It came out about 1981-82.
Yeah.
And,
actually earlier, 79, I think, it started.
Really?
Yeah, but it all came through because Kelly Monteith... At that time, Des O'Connor had the big BBC Two chat show where all the American comics came over, and, you know, people, Letterman, Leno, and all that, did their first British TV on the Des O'Connor show. And Neil Shand was the script associate.
Yeah.
And after Kelly Monteith was one of these American comics who broke on the Des O'Connor show. And after that, Jim Moyer, head of Light Entertainment, said, well, we'll give you a series and we'll put it together with Neil Shand, who you worked with on the Monkhouse show. Yeah. And they did this sitcom, which is very, very Gary Shandling in a lot of ways.
Really is. It's because he's talking to the camera a lot, and then he goes off and acts in a scene, and then comes out of the scene. Yeah. I would have been about 8 or 9, and my six. We were the first family, Louis, in my street to get a video recorder, but it was stolen, and we weren't allowed to tell anyone we had one, and it was hidden behind the sofa. But so we would tape the Kelly Monteith show, and then watch it the next morning before school. And it was all I can remember is one episode where he had a waterbed, and it was all that kind of stuff about dating and, you know...
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, that was later on, because in the first series, his wife was Gabrielle Drake.
Oh,
Nick Drake's sister, and also who was Nicola... What's her name? In Crossroads.
In Crossroads, of course, yes.
And it was all about... their marriage, you know, an American married to an English woman, and comedy ensues. And then later on, there was going through the divorce, and then there was the dating stuff. And the one memory I have was from one of the latest series, about 84, where he goes to a party and he's trying to be hip, and it's the time of Choose Life T-shirts and Frankie Says T-shirts. Yeah. And he turns up at a party. Everyone's wearing Frankie Says Relax T-shirts. He turns up in a T-shirt saying X-Lax.
Is it? What happened to Kelly Monteith? Is he still around?
He's back in America doing gigs. Yeah, he's still doing the circuit. He's probably doing a lot of corporate stuff. But no, he's still active. Yeah.
Catherine, Kelly Monteith. Let's see if we can get him on the show.
That'd be great.
Yeah, wouldn't it? Actually, wouldn't it? Let's try and get Kelly Monteith on the show.
And there's another great Kelly Monteith show.
Yeah.
That I can't claim to remember. I've seen it since, and it's he has this bit in it about, and it's the whole thing of if you want to get important people or self-important people down to your level, imagine them naked. And he's in some kind of job interview, and the person on the other side of the table is Frank Thornton, Captain Peacock.
Oh, yes, of course.
And there's a brief flash frame of Captain Peacock sitting behind a desk naked with a red nose on.
Now, listen, the reason... I'm fascinated by you, Louis, and we've had communications on Twitter, and this is the first time we've ever spoken. You sound posher than I imagined.
Ah.
Oh, are you doing your radio voice, or is this actually how you speak?
It's actually how I speak.
Wow, good for you.
For many years working on Private Eye, I passed for a public school boy, but I went to a comprehensive.
Listen, the business that we're going to plug is this wonderful evening you're doing in Hull, an evening with Neil Shand. It's on the 12th of March, and I'll tweet all the links and we'll do all that stuff, of course. I don't know how big we are in Hull, Louis, but you never know. This is part of the Hull, the City of Culture.
And it's also part of a festival called Heads Up. It's all put together by a great guy called Dave Lee, who's a writer and all-round genius, and he knows Neil and knows me, and he said, "Do you know Neil Shand?" And I said, well, we've spoken on the phone years and years ago, and I had to get clearance to use something in a book. But he said, well, we want to do a night with him as part of the City of Culture year. He lives up in Lincolnshire, lives on the banks of the Humber.
Yeah.
And we want to get him in, and we want you to do it. Yeah, cracky, get me in. Yeah. The thing is, I've been doing little bits and pieces for the Royal Television Society in Yorkshire.
Yeah.
The great Lisa Holdsworth, who wrote The Midsummer Murders, where Martin McCutcheon got murdered with cheese.
I must have missed that one.
Yeah, no, that happened.
Yes.
She wrote it, and Lisa organises all the Royal Television Society stuff up there. And ages ago, she said, "Barry Cryer's coming up. Will you interview him on stage?" We had a great night in Leeds. Basically, the thing is, you don't interview Barry Cryer. You say, "Well, tell us about."
No, you just push him, and away he goes for an hour and a half. Wow, what a great gig, though.
Yeah, mind you, I had a great night with Barry at the National Film Theatre years ago. It was an Everett night.
Yeah.
They were showing some Everett stuff, and you know when you do a panel, there's always someone who wants to ask the longest, cleverest question.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was this guy at the front row, and there's this two-minute long question with lots of clauses and digressions and whatever. Now, Barry, his hearing isn't what it was.
Yeah.
And he turned to me and said, "What did he say?" And I turned around to him and said, he asked, "Was it different at Thames?" And the bloke in the front row was looking daggers at me. But that was his
That was the question. You're right, Kath and I went to see Limmy at the Curzon.
The Great Limmy.
The Great Limmy, and he was showing an hour, it was psychedelic and migraine inducing, but he was showing an hour of his vines, so these 7-second things. And the first question, the fella, it was one of those questions that went on for 3 minutes, and we were all sat there, kind of just going, oh my God, well, you just get to the question mark. Just get to the 3 words at the end that ask him a question. Now, Neil Shand is, it's a name that a lot of people probably won't recognise, but, he has written for everybody, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. The Two Ronnies, Frost. He was Spike Milligan's collaborator all through Q and all that. He basically was the person who... Spike loved having someone on, for many years it was Eric Sykes, so for a long time it was John Antrobus, so Spike loved collaborating, as long as the collaborator was simpatico, and Neil Shand, I think, was the longest serving, and there's a gorgeous documentary from the early 70s, where I think it's One Pair of Eyes or something, one of those BBC Two things from the early 70s, and it shows Spike and Neil Shand collaborating, which they did for years.
Wow.
And you know, in those collaborations, you know, someone like Neil Shand, he could write, you know, the topical stuff for Bob Monkhouse, and he could also slip into the surreal Milligan stuff. He's one of these people who's endlessly versatile comedy writer, and, you know, when I said I was doing the gig, David Quantick said, I worked with him on Saturday Zoo, and, you know, that was in the mid-90s.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, did he ever work on any stuff that you did?
No, he didn't. The 11 o'clock show was the thing that I did that had the most writers, and they just got kids to do it, to fax stuff in. So no, I don't think I've ever come across him. I've not been blessed by working with someone as skilled and as good as that. I always imagined that Spike Milligan wrote his stuff on his own. How would Neil or how would they have worked together?
Well, it was a lot of give and take in that relationship, and with the Eric Sykes one as well. What would happen was that if Spike was having a bad day and the stuff needed to be done, Sykes or Neil Shand could keep the throughput going.
Right.
And be, you know, write Milligan to the point where Spike couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah. Wow.
Who wrote what, because they were so close. But Neil started out on D Time. He was writing stuff for Simon D.
Now, I am fascinated by Simon D.
So am I.
I'm absolutely fascinated. I've seen the documentaries that were made, and I've read that slightly clunky book. And in fact, I got so obsessed with him, I found his son on YouTube, and I got in touch with his son saying I'd love to interview him. This was years ago. Yeah. And literally the day after, it was announced that he died. Literally the day after.
I was in correspondence with him about going to see him for a book I was writing called Turned Out Nice Again, History of Light Entertainment. And he died while I was doing that, and it was tremendously sad, but I'm not sure I would have got a great deal of sense or usable material, because, you know, I think he'd become quite paranoid and bitter about it.
He was very obtuse. I mean, for those who don't know, Simon D Time, in the late 60s, it was the hippest the chat show. It was like the sort of tea time chat show, wasn't it? And he would have all the big stars on.
Billed in the Radio Time as the Saturday evening scene.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
And he was huge, and hardly any of it survives, apart from a brilliant clip of Sammy Davis Jr. on there. Yeah. But there's hardly, all the tapes were, of course, wiped. And he got a little bit too big for his boots, didn't he? And followed the money to LWT, where he flopped miserably.
Well, you know why he flopped at LWT?
Go on.
He flopped at LWT because who had a massive shareholding in the company? David Frost.
Yeah.
So David Frost wasn't going to let him have any of the good guests for his chat show.
Yeah.
You don't need two chat shows on a station that's broadcasting three days a week.
Yeah.
So basically he was squeezed out by Frost. I mean, when he went to LWT, he went to Bill Cotton and said, I've been offered this to go to LWT. Are you going to match it or beat it? And Bill Cotton said, no, I'm going to offer you a pay cut. And he said, why? He said, you won't last 5 minutes at LWT.
Yeah.
I'm testing your loyalty. You've got a job here at the BBC. You've got a show here at the BBC. You've got a career here at the BBC.
Could have been legendary.
And he said, if you go to LWT, that's it. You're finished. And so it was.
Same thing that happened to Christine Bleakley, isn't it, when she left the One Show?
Well, less so. I don't know that she's...
Maybe not.
Some of the stuff I know about Simon. But I don't think Christine Blakely's gone.
Well, she didn't end up being a bus driver. I mean, because fair play to him, because he couldn't get a gig.
Costume jeweller.
Yeah,
it's a fascinating guy, fascinating career.
And then when we'll get back to Shand in a minute, but the thing that fascinated me is that every sort of few years he'd get thrown a lifeline. He'd get offered a gig at Radio 2 or something.
Oh, that was the 60s. And first presenter of that, wasn't it?
And straight away, instead of being grateful and straight away he'd start kicking off and thinking he was bigger than the show, and he'd last 3 or 4 weeks and made himself unemployable, like several podcasters that are out there now.
You know the documentary?
Yes.
And Victor Lewis Smith.
Victor Lewis Smith, the name escaped me, yes, of course.
God preserve. Victor put the documentary together and also did a one-off special of D-Time.
It's all on YouTube, guys, and it's worth checking out.
And by all accounts, all of the old arrogance came back. Years in the wilderness, straight away he was. And the thing is, Tony Blackburn saw Simon D in action in a TV studio once, and just saw how he annoyed people.
Yeah.
And Tony Blackburn said, I must never do that. Wow. And that's why Tony Blackburn's lasted.
Yeah.
He just looked at Simon D and said, no, that's not how you do it. Now, a mate of mine, who was a cameraman at the BBC, said, Simon D had a face you couldn't focus on. My mate, Roger Bunce, lovely, lovely man, cameraman at Television Centre for years. Yeah. And people used to say to me, well, what are you talking about? You can focus on anything. He said, no. There's something about the features. You could get the suit in focus and the face would be out. You could get the nose in focus and the cheeks would be out. Yeah. He said, years and years later, he said, I was lecturing at Ravensbourne College, and one of the other lecturers was from LWT. And I mentioned this, and he said, yeah, we had the same trouble.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
But so Neil Shand. I remember we were here to talk about something.
Yes, Neil Shand. Neil Shand was one of the people on D-Time. Yep. He was the one writing the topical gags, and then he went on to do loads of stuff for Frost. Now, Frost was that opened the door for everyone. And you look at the credit list for those Frost chat shows.
Yeah.
Barry Cryer calls it the War Dead because it looks like a war memorial as the credits go past. But Neil Shand was on there, and years and years ago, for this same book, Turned Out Nice Again, William G. Stewart was one of the directors on Frost, and he said, we worked out that Frost office was so well connected. So, you had people like Neil and Barry Cryer in comedy and light entertainment. You had people like Tony J and Clive Irving in politics and all that. He said, we worked out that between us there were only 5 people we couldn't get to directly. Fantastic. One phone call straight through. Yeah. He said, and that was the Queen, the US President, Ho Chi Minh, Khrushchev, and de Gaulle.
Isn't that incredible? I mean, you look at the talent that worked on those shows, the Frost Report and Frost on Sunday, just incredible amount of talent.
And that's the thing about Frost. People look at, how did Frost rise without trace and all that? He just surrounded himself with brilliant people, paid them well, and let them get on with it, invited them to these lavish parties. God, Frost's parties were legendary. And just basically was a smashing bloke, and unless you were Peter Cook.
Well, this is what I was going to say, of course, because Peter Cook, when Peter Cook used to, was David Frost his fag at school or something? Or he used to bully him or something, didn't he?
It was at Cambridge.
Right.
And Frost was a couple of years below. And Peter Cook was so fantastically trailblazing and influential that basically, for a while, everyone who went through Cambridge did a Peter Cook tribute act, and Frost was the most obvious. Yeah. And it was what they called him the bubonic plagiarist. and then the famous, have you any regrets? Saving David Frost from drowning.
And Cook was busy, being a success in America on Broadway, and David Frost sort of snuck in and took his place over here. And was Cook bitter throughout his life about David Frost?
No, I don't think Cook was bitter about anything. I think Cook just had an enormously fun time, and I think no bitterness. I don't know. If anything, I think he was a tiny bit bitter about Dudley becoming the great success in Hollywood, and also about Dudley's musical talent. Peter Cook wanted to be a pop star but didn't have a musical bone in his body. Oh, that
song that he does in Bedazzled, though, You Fill Me With Inertia.
Dream the Wedge and the Vegetation.
Oh, it's just, I mean, he looks so beautiful, and it's a wonderful scene in a fantastic film.
Filmed on the Ready Steady Go set.
Was it really?
Yeah.
If you've never seen the original Bedazzled, and of course not that nonsense that had that lady in it.
The only Bedazzled.
The only Bedazzled. Thank you. It was that and the Magic Christian. When I was at college, they were the films that when we were a little bit fuzzy headed late at night, we'd just put those on repeat. I was doing a job with Bob Mortimer and his business partner Lisa. And we were talking about something. I said, "Oh, that reminds me of the Magic Christian." And Lisa said, "Have you seen the Magic Christian?" I went, "Yeah." She goes, "Do you like it?" I said, "That's one of my favourite films." She goes, "Oh, my dad directed that."
Joe McGrath?
Yeah. It was Lisa Clark is his daughter. And I'd worked with her for ages. And she gets to, "Oh, yeah, my dad directed that." And, he was a bit disappointed.
Get Joe on the show.
Yeah, do you know what? That's an excellent idea.
Oh, my God.
That is a movie.
The stories. He's got all the stories.
I'll see if we can. I'll reach out. Reach out. I just said a horrible Americanism. I'll send Lisa a text and see if he'll be up for that, because that would be.
Of course he would.
Is he a good old storyteller?
The fridge door opens.
Sorry.
He does 10 minutes act when the fridge door opens.
Oh, brilliant! All right, well, I'll get him on. He'll be on next week. It's as simple as that. That's how this show works, Louis.
That would be so good.
Anyway. Neil Shand.
You've had quite a run with the Tommy Cannons and the Bernie Clifton.
Hey, honestly,
Bernie. I don't know Tommy only from the work and everything, but Bernie is the sweetest man. I
was concerned about Bernie because for some reason, I picked up, and I don't know where this came from, that he could be a little bit arch and a little bit difficult.
Do you know what it was?
Go on.
It was that documentary,
The Entertainers,
series, early 2000s. It was just after the Louis Theroux stuff. It was a series called The Entertainers.
Yeah.
And it was quite sneery.
This is what I said to him. I mentioned that to him, and I said I thought it had a bit of a tone about it.
And he worked that out and played them at their own game.
Yeah. Oh, good.
No, he's the nicest man.
He really is. And I know some people will be going, "Bernie Clifton, are you sure?" Honestly, guys, next week when we play that, it's 35 minutes you are not going to want to miss. He was charming, hilarious, and I didn't mention the ostrich once.
Oh. I interviewed Bernie in his dressing room at Lowestoft Marina.
Yeah.
While he was packing his props away, and no one works harder. No one does more with props.
Yeah.
The giant robot, the giant inflatable robot and everything. If you've never seen Bernie Clifton on stage, you must see him. Bernie Clifton, Ken Dodd, Roy Hudd, if you get a chance to see any of them, go and do it.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. And Bernie, he said, "Oh, God, I remember the day Oswald, it's called Oswald, and he calls it the chicken." He said, "The day the chicken arrived, it was at Coventry Hippodrome, and I put it on, and I went out in the one-way system causing havoc." He's just a brilliant man. He knows what he's doing, and oh God, do you see him on The Voice?
Yeah, no, do you know what? I didn't see it when it went out, but I've seen the clip of it on YouTube, and he was telling me how he just went for the auditions, and he gave his real name, Bernard Quigley or whatever, something like that, retired plumber, and he got through the first round, and then the second round he said that he was an ostrich jockey, so instantly they're like, "Oh, a retired plumber who's an ostrich jockey," and then eventually, just as they said, "Right, you're through," and I should tell you, I do this and this. And I just thought, what a wonderful kind of a prank to play. It's that, who's that? There's that, I can't remember his name. That gentleman that goes around doing pranks at the moment for Channel 4, that Lee Nelson. Is it Lee Nelson? Is that his name?
Simon Brodkin.
Simon Brodkin goes, and this was just, him going on The Voice is just a charming version of those without any malice or spite.
No, there's no malice to Bernie whatsoever. But also, he's just a funny man.
Yeah.
And I said to him, what... Actually, I don't want to do this in case it's treading on your toes.
No, don't worry, go on.
I said, so what made you realise, you were meant to be in comedy? He said, "Oh, stupid stuff. We go to the cinema and take, bangers and whistles and stuff like that. And we'd have a set, me and my mates, we'd all have a set point in the film. We'd say, right, synchronise our watches, and then we'd set everything off. And it happened every week, and we got chucked out every week, and it was just, he said, and the reaction to that was the sort of first thing. He said, but then I became a singer. He was a club singer when he was in the RAF.
Yeah.
And he said, I worked out that, if I told a few, the jokes just took over between songs, got longer and longer.
I mean, we chatted for 35 minutes. He totally sucked me in. I said, well, Bernie, listen, I just want to say thank you for the laughs, thank you for your time. Yeah. He said, Ian, before I go, can I just leave you on this note? And then he went, he had a trombone sat next to him waiting for the gag at the end.
Of course he
was working it on the phone.
Of course he did.
And then Tommy Cannon as well. I mean, again, I wasn't sure what Tommy Cannon would be like, but what a delightful, 10-year-old me inside was bouncing up and down with glee.
The thing is, they're old pros, and they love telling these stories.
Yeah, of course they do.
And they're full of them. In Leeds, after the Barry Crowell did the Chuckle Brothers. And the thing is, everyone uses the Chuckle Brothers as a sort of lazy shorthand for, you might as well get the Chuckle Brothers to run it, because of the act.
Yeah.
And now, so much craft goes into that act, and the Chuckle Brothers, there aren't two cleverer blokes in comedy.
Yeah.
But Cannonball. Now,
so go back to the Chuckle Brothers for a second, because there is a brilliant gag from Chucklevision, right? It's a brilliant gag, right? They're stewards on an aeroplane, and then for some reason, I think they knock the pilots out by accident, and they come out and they say, right, we don't want to panic anybody. But is there anybody who can fly an aeroplane? No one puts their hand up. He goes, right, a helicopter? Anyone been up in a hot air balloon? Paper aeroplanes? And it just goes down, and it's just beautiful. I always wonder about the Chuckle Brothers, though, because do you remember, when they started on TV, they were dressed up as dogs.
Yeah.
And I always wonder at what point they go, you know what, guys, the dogs are working, but I think if we come out of these outfits, we've got something special.
Well, no, what happened there was, they were doing an act not as dogs. This came out on the night. This is a fantastic story.
Yeah.
And they were doing the act, not doing a double act, not as dogs. And they were seen. I think they were doing pantomime or something.
Yeah.
And there was an audience, and there were 4 people in the audience. And they thought, should we bother? Yeah, let's go out and do it. Now, it's a good job they did that, because 2 of those people were from BBC Manchester.
Oh, fantastic.
And they went out and they did the show like it was packed.
Yeah, of course.
And they were fantastic.
Yeah.
And the guys from BBC Manchester went round the back and said, look, we'd like to put you in a show. Do you know Ward Allen and Roger the Dog? And they went, yeah, great Vent Act, yeah. Well, he's got his own series, and we'd like to put you in it.
Yeah.
And they went, great. He said, look, only one problem. We want you to play their butlers who are in dog suits.
Oh, of course, yes, the butler dogs.
And they went, well, it's telly, it's work, let's do it. And they went along, and the Chucklehound suits were actually It's a Knockout cast-offs.
Oh, wow,
They went through the It's a Knockout, and they chose the 2 funniest dog suits.
Yeah.
They went through, that one works. They knew what dog suits worked. Yeah, that one works, that one does. And, Paul and Barry, they just said, inside the dog suits, we were just doing the whole thing like we were doing the double act anyway, so it wasn't the longest walk. And then they stole the show from poor old Ward Allen, who was a great act. And they said, we want to offer you your own series. And they did the series as the dogs. Mm. And then the same producer said, let's do a series without the dog suits. And that was it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Louis, listen, you're all right to stick around for another 10 minutes?
Yeah, cool.
Beautiful. Stay there, because I'm having the time of my life. Honestly, I could chat all night. We need to do this over a coffee at some point. Late Nights with Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
Late Night Iain Lee.
On air and off the leash.
On Talk Radio.
We have ways of making you talk.
0344 499 1000 is the telephone number. I'm speaking to Louis Barfe. He's got an evening up in Hull in March, interviewing Neil Shand. He's also written books. Let's do the selling. I've just tweeted all the stuff, but you've written, is it 3 books you've written, Louis?
Yeah.
Where Have All the Good Times Gone?
Yes.
About records.
History of the record industry from Edison up until Napster, really. It was
Napster.
Yeah.
That dates
the book slightly, doesn't it?
Turned Out Nice Again, the story of British light entertainment.
Which was the most fun to do, just going and bothering old producers and writers.
And you did it. You went and did the legwork, did you? You phoned people up and went round people's houses and had tea and cake and spoke to them.
Yeah, no. When I interviewed Johnny Ammons, Morecambe and Wise's producer, we sat there and it was getting dark. But we were so deep in conversation, neither of us thought to go and turn the light on. And we were just sitting there.
I love it.
And then Johnny went, I'll just go make a cup of tea. And I went, turn the light on while you're there.
And I'm imagining that the thing that I'm finding out now with the Bernie Cliftons and with, the Tommy Cannons and other people that me and Kath are approaching, I would imagine that when you got in touch with that book, they were more than delighted to invite you round and spend a few hours talking.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. I mean, Ernest Maxim, Morecambe Wise's other great producer, you turn up and, have you eaten? Look, we've got some cake, we've got some biscuits.
Fantastic.
Just sit down and... they're fascinating people and they've lived so much and they've done so many things. I mean, Ernest telling me the story of how he worked out the stripper routine in his own kitchen.
Really?
He got home thinking, right, we've got 3 minutes to fill, and we've got no script, so it's got to be visual. And his wife came in and said, "Oh, what do you want for breakfast in the morning? Some grapefruit?" And he went, "Grapefruit, breakfast." And then he stayed up all night working out, using up everything in the kitchen. His wife Lee came in the morning and just went, "What have you done? There's flour all over."
And one of the, classic top 10 sketches of British TV of all time.
I've been very lucky. I've been able to sort of find these people and talk to them. And a lot of it's trust, They're not going to talk if you don't know what you're on about.
Yeah.
And,
were any of them guarded? I remember ages ago, about 6 years ago, I interviewed Paul Daniels on the phone, and I got the impression from Paul he was waiting for the punchline. He was waiting for the punch in the stomach from me to say, "Ha ha, you're an old fart." And it wasn't at all. It was done in complete reverence. I was bowing down in front of him. It was on the phone, but were any of them a little bit wary?
See, I met Paul, but I never interviewed him, and I get what you're saying about that. I got that as well. But I think it became clear that, no, I was on his side.
Yeah.
But I think there's that moment when you interview someone, is it Danny Baker? I went to see his one-man show recently.
Oh, yeah, is it good?
Oh, it's crackingly good. He talks about interviewing people, and he talks about interviewing old comedians and Kenneth Williams and all that, people who are known to be difficult.
Yeah.
And he calls it, that dumb luck, where you ask the right question.
Yeah.
And I think, well, no, it's not dumb luck, it's knowing what you're on about.
Yeah.
Like, I interviewed Spike Milligan, I went to his home.
Wow, man.
And the week before, he'd been interviewed by someone from the Sunday Telegraph and had taken against them because they'd basically not done any research. And it was basically, tell me your whole life story. And Spike Milligan, you don't do that with Spike Milligan. So, Spike Milligan was my hero. He was the only person in my life I have ever set out to meet. And I thought, if this goes badly, I don't.
You're devastated.
But I can't not take this opportunity. He had a book out. I was a trade hack, going off to interview him, and my editor said, "Oh, can't you do it down the phone?" I went, "No, I've been invited to Spike Milligan's house. I'm taking the day off if necessary."
Of course you are. You can't say no to that.
No. So we went down. I went down to Rye in Sussex, where he lived. And I had this Telegraph piece banging in my ears, thinking, "Hell, if he gives me a hard time, I'm not going to survive it."
Yeah.
So we got in there, and we talked, and I asked him a question about jazz trumpet and the music he loved and stuff like that. And then I said, "What about Ray Ellington?" He said, "Oh man, what a brilliant musician. I loved working with him and all that. And then I said, oh, Wally Stott and the Goon Show Band. And we were in. Ask about the music, and after that, it was just... And he came, he said, do you want some tea and cake? I said, lovely. He said, is Earl Grey okay? And I said, Earl Grey's fine. He said, how do you take it? I said, no milk. He said, good, not a heathen. And he came back out with Earl Grey and Bakewell tart, and we sat and carried on talking. He said, can I play you a piece of music that a friend of mine wrote? His friend Harry Edgington, who was in the army with him. Anyway, it went like a dream. Fantastic. And he eventually got tired, and he said, look, I'm an old man, I'm getting tired now. Have you got enough?
Yeah.
I went, oh, God, no, it's been it's wonderful. And so he said, well, you can call for a taxi, get back to the station, and thanks for coming. So I went and got the taxi back to the station, and the next day I rang his editor at the publisher, and he said, no, the editor rang me, and he said, how did it go? I said, it seemed to go fine. We, sat and had a cup of tea and some Bakewell tart. He got the Bakewell tart out. I went, yeah, what does that mean? He went, it means you passed.
Wow, well done, Louis.
Yeah.
Well done. What a thrill. The interviews I do, that sounds like you were with him for a few hours. The interviews I do tend to be about 20 minutes long. And the trick that I've learned, and I learned this when I interviewed Sparks, years and years ago, and they came in and they were very polite. And obviously their biggest hit is This Town Ain't Big Enough for the both of us. And I said to them off air, I said, look, if you want, we can make this the first interview where we don't mention that song. And they looked at me and they went, are you sure? I said, yeah, I am quite happy. I'm not interested in that. You must have spoken about that a million times. I couldn't give a stuff about that. Let's make this the first interview where we don't mention the greatest hit. And that's that's how I tend to do these interviews when it's like 20 minutes on the radio.
Yeah.
We had Johnny Rotten.
You've had some great interviews, and you obviously really... You interview people that you love, when you get all the musicians in, the Monkeys and all that.
On this show, we get people that we want to talk to. Me and Kath want to talk to. We've got an interest, and we just sit there going through our iTunes, going, well, let's ask him, let's ask her, and it works. And we had, when we had Johnny Rotten on, or John Lydon didn't mention punk once, because. No. He's spoken about that a million times. I don't want to hear his thoughts on what happened 40 years ago again. I want to hear something completely different, and it's like with Bernie Clifton. I didn't mention the ostrich. He mentioned it a couple of times, but that wasn't... Because they must get bored of talking about that, and to have a little bit of knowledge about something else they've done that's perhaps a little bit more obscure, maybe a film that they're proud of but it flopped, or this sketch just to throw that in, and that you can see or hear their voice light
up and go, you know about that,
you know my stuff and you like that, okay, brilliant, we're in. And I love it, and it's a great way to do these things. So for these little 20-minute interviews.
My great regret and sadness is that I've never got to interview Rod Hull.
Yeah.
Because I appeared on stage with Rod Hull when I was 7.
Oh, mate, come on now.
Now, talking about Tommy Cannon, the first TV recording I attended was their Christmas special 1982.
Oh, what a thrill for a young... We're the same
Tommy
age.
Cannon
I think
and Bobby Ball at Drury Lane.
You're 4 days younger than me, I think. I've been reading up about you. And what a thrill for a young man to go and see that. That must have been hysterical.
It was amazing. Went with my entire family, and it was great. Drury Lane, Theatre Royal Drury Lane. Yeah. I've got it on DVD now, and it's they're crackingly good. It's a great act.
Yeah.
But Rod Hull, Britannia Pier, Great Yarmouth, 1980... on holiday with my mum and dad, and mouthy little child me, near the front, need a volunteer from the audience, me, could not get up there fast enough. You. I got up there. Now, the thing is, Rod Hull, all the stuff he did with Parkinson and everyone and whatever, I think Rod Hull was one of the greatest physical comedians we've ever seen. His show, Emus Broadcasting Company, EBC One, was the Pinkman Mill stuff was okay. But
I wasn't such a fan of that. Yeah,
it was okay. It was okay. EBC One was Python for Kids,
right?
And with Billy Dainty and all that.
Billy Dainty, there's a name I'd forgotten about. Wow,
a great man.
Yeah.
And there's this clip from EBC One where he's doing this fake consumer investigative program called The Searching Beak of Emu. And he's looking at things in supermarkets.
Yeah.
And there's this beautiful, beautiful bit, I think it's on YouTube, of emu gets rod holes looking in a freezer. Emu gets rod hole around the back of the neck and flips him bodily into the chest freezer. Now, the thing is, you look at it, and you believe it's the bird doing it. And the centre of gravity is just right for the bird doing it, not a man throwing himself in. It's amazing stuff. Now, he was very physically hard on himself. He was physically hard on Parkinson. He would have been physically hard on Connolly, who was on the same show, but you know the story about that?
No, go on. Billy Connolly?
Billy Connolly.
Yeah, of course, the famous Parkinson issue where Emu goes and attacks him,
Yeah. Billy Connolly walks up to Rod Hull and Emu and says, "If you try anything, I'll break your neck and his arm."
We had on the 11 o'clock show. We had Sooty came on, and I don't know who was doing Sooty then. It wasn't Matthew Corbett, but it wasn't the young man that
took it on.
It wasn't the young man that does it now. There was someone in between.
Okay.
And I said a similar thing. He was squirting everyone with the water pistol. And I said, Sooty, if you squirt me with that, I'm going to punch that old man. And he didn't. He didn't. But go on. Sorry. So Rod
Hull.
Yes. Oh.
He gave no quarter. If you were 7 years old, you got the full Parkinson.
Wow, really?
And it hurt. And do you know what?
Yeah.
You know, nowadays I'd probably sue him.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
do you know what? I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. It was
being assaulted by Rod Hull and Emu, but in the good sense of assault. Anyway, Neil Shand.
Yes.
Dave is saying on Twitter, Dave Lee is saying, we've turned this into a catchphrase. Anyway, Neil Shand.
Yes. Well, the thing is, additional material, Neil Shand was the great credit all through. So, and Neil Shand.
So what? So, Hull. When is this happening?
It's on the 12th of March at the Cardoma 94.
I've tweeted the link. I'm going to tweet it again.
Yeah.
And, put Philip through, because Philip in South Norwood knows his onions. He's going to come on in a second.
Excellent.
If it were nearer, and I don't mean in London, but if it were nearer, I'd be there. But Hull's a little bit of a stretch for me, unfortunately. So how is the evening going to take shape? Do you know, is it just you two with some microphones? Are you going to show clips? How's it going to work?
We're going to show clips. I think I'm going to, pull rank and make them show one of my favourite Spike Milligan sketches, which I know Neil co-wrote, which was Jehovah's Burglars.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
It's we've been persecuted for our beliefs. What are your beliefs? We believe you've got a lot of good silverware.
And the Q series, because
which are all out on DVD now,
I was about to say, is it? Because we used to pass around VHS copies of, there are a few bits that are in a documentary and a couple of them, but it's all out on DVD, is it? When did that happen?
It's just come out in the last few months.
Oh, beautiful. It is, for those who haven't seen it, the shorthand is, it's Python before Python, isn't it? It's surreal, it's beautiful, it's nonsense, it's sketches, that don't have punchlines, it's kind of meanders, doesn't it?
Well, Q5 was Python before Python, and then there was a long gap before Q6, and Q6 is Milligan, pure Milligan, if not Python. It's just the whole thing of Milligan and Neil Shand coming up with these beautiful ideas like, well, how about if we keep the luggage tags from the wardrobe department on the suits, so you have people appearing in shot with these wardrobe tags on them, and then how about if we stick ring binder reinforcements on people's cheeks? So you have David Jacobs doing links with a ring binder reinforcement on his cheeks, and where are they now? And Spike once, I said, how did you manage to get all of these fine, upstanding people to do these undignified things? He said, I think it was called money.
Of course it was. Let me bring Philip in, because we got to end in a minute. Philip!
Good evening, Ian.
Good evening, Philip. I'm imagining you've got a little semi going listening to this conversation this evening.
Brilliant. It's really fantastic. Over the years, I have had the chance on the radio phone-ins to speak to a number of really big celebrities.
Yes.
Joan Rivers, Lee Marvin,
wow,
Bill Haley, James Best. You know who James Best was? Roscoe P. Coltrane from the...
Oh, of course.
Yes. And also a bloke who...
Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Yeah, and a real legend, Rich Little.
Yes, Rich Little,
yes.
Who, great comedian.
Yes.
Canadian, isn't he?
I believe he was.
Yeah, and he played Johnny Carson.
Yes.
In the film version of Bill Carter's book about Leno and Letterman.
Can I just say, one of those weird things happens. As you said the name Johnny Carson, Louis, I read the name Johnny Carson because someone has just tweeted me, and I've not seen this, so I won't watch it now. Someone's just, Lane has just tweeted me a clip of Emu on the Johnny Carson show.
Wow.
With Richard Pryor.
Attacking Richard Pryor.
Oh, wow.
When did Rod Hull go to the States?
Well, it must. Richard Pryor, I think it was around the time of Superman 3, so 83.
Yeah, wow, look at that.
And it was when Richard Pryor had all that plastic surgery after the fire.
Yeah. Oh, God. Rod Hull on Johnny Carson. I'm watching that later on. Philip, listen, thank you. We've got to do the business. Thank you, Philip. We've got to do the business. So, you're talking with Neil Shand.
Neil Shand, who D-Time, Frost, Monkhouse, everyone. Kelly Monteith.
Look at that. Tickets are £8. I mean, you're virtually giving them away for that.
Yeah.
It's on the 12th of March, which I think is a Saturday, isn't it?
Let me just check.
It's
a Sunday.
It's a Sunday. Yeah, it's a Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's I'm going to tweet the link again. But if you type in an evening with Neil Shand, it will pop up, won't it?
Oh yeah,
it will pop up, and hang on a second, Philip. Yes, Philip. Did you not get to your point?
No, the thing I wanted to say is, you mentioned about Sparks.
Yeah, yes.
Because I was on, wasn't I? I talked to them about roller coasters.
You talked about the movie that they were in, and they were so thrilled to have that mentioned.
They didn't like it, and we got into a bit of a sort of an argument about it. That was the only thing the other thing I wanted to mention.
That's right. Philip from South Norwood, Louis, has argued with Sparks.
Excellent.
Thank you, Philip. Louis, listen, what are you on Twitter?
LF Barfe.
LF Barfe. B-A-R-F-E. And I've tweeted it enough, and I'll tweet it again during the news as well, and all the links and all the bits and pieces. It's such a thrill to talk to you, Louis. You've got to come on again. Because we've got loads of people saying nice things about it, and I don't normally get that. And B, we have to do this over a coffee at some point.
Yes, we do.
Nice one, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Look after yourself.
Thank you, Louis.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Absolutely superb. What a nice gentleman. I'm going to tweet during the news. I shall tweet you the link. I don't know how big we are in Hull. I think I'm doing a show that night, but if I wasn't, I would be there. Doesn't it sound fantastic? What a great... Why don't I get phone calls saying, hey, do you fancy doing a Q&A with a comedy legend? Yeah, sure, I'd love to. But Louis knows his stuff, and, oh, man alive, I could have sat chatting to him all night. We'll get him on again. Definitely. It's a really busy show tonight. We've put some effort into this, me and Kath. There's been a little bit of pre-production has gone on. Coming up after the news, you'll have seen and you'll have heard the big story from NASA. They have found 7 new planets. And it looks pretty likely that some of them could possibly contain life. It's absolutely mind-blowing stuff. But I don't really understand it. When it comes to that kind of stuff, I'm a little bit out of my depth. So, I've got in touch with Professor Joe Laevens, who is a UFO expert and knows all about these kind of things. And he's hopefully going to come on just after 11. Well, he is going to come on just after 11 and hopefully explain to us what these planets are, where they are, how close are they. My boys today had loads of questions. How far away are they? Is it 1 trillion miles away? And I went, yeah, sure, why not? I don't know. So the professor's going to come on and let us know his thoughts on that, how far away they are, or whether they'll contain life, what we can expect, should we be worried about that. He's also happy to take your phone calls, 0344. He gets really busy when Joe Laevens comes on, so if you're going to call up now. Book your space now, because the phones go nuts for him. 0344 499 1000. You speak to Kath, she'll take your name and number and call you straight back. Maybe you've had an out-of-body experience. Maybe you've seen a UFO. I know that some of my listeners have tweeted me to say that they've been probed by aliens. If that's you, or if you've just got any questions about space and flying saucers, then do give us a call. The phones go nuts when we have Joe Laevens on, so give us a call now. 0344 499 1000. Late Nights with Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
Talk Radio.
The calls are coming through thick and fast. If you want to speak to Professor Joe Laevens about your UFO experience, 0344 499 1000. Late Nights with Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
Late Night, Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
We have ways of making you talk.
It's time to get a little bit spooky here on Talk Radio. It's we like to do this from time to time. We like to look at the weird, the wacky, the wonderful, the strange, the odd, the mentally unstable, the bizarre. We're not calling it the Twilight Zone. That would be a copyright infringement. But we do like to have a little look at some of the stranger news that's going on in the world. And boy, I say in the world, I mean out of this world. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. There's a huge story that has dominated the press. The Sun have got the perfect headline. Are these 7 new Earths? Astronomers have found 7 Earth-sized planets in one solar system, meaning we could find alien life within years. NASA made the astonishing announcement last night. At least 3 planets are the right temperature to be covered with oceans, and there could be water on others. When we get stories like this, there's only one person to go to. We go to our resident Professor Joe Laevens, who's got a new book coming out soon called Alien Invasion, Dawn of the Hybrid Super Species. Good evening, Joe.
Hello there. Good evening to you, Ian. Great to speak to you again.
Great to speak to you. We are taking calls. I can see we've got Malcolm. I can see we've got Alan. 0344 499 1000. If you want to join them, tell us. Just give us a brief synopsis of the book, Joe.
Okay. First of all, I want to pick you up on you're playing the Twilight Zone. You refer to the wacky, the mentally deranged, the
disturbed, mentally disturbed.
Disturbed. I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
There's nothing disturbed about it. This is factual. This is science.
Well, I mean, it's a bit of fun, isn't it? It's a little bit of fun.
No, sir. It is not fun.
No.
This is life. This is science. What we're talking about here are at least 3 planets within a newly discovered solar system that's 39 light years from Earth.
Right.
Astronomers at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, of course, have detected no less than 7 roughly Earth-sized worlds.
How do they detect them? How do they detect them? Have they got like a very strong telescope?
Yes, they do, sir. Yes, they do. There's a telescope in Wasilla, Chile, which gives the system its name. It's called the TRAPPIST Robotic Telescope.
Yeah.
And what they've done is they've looked into the so-called Goldilocks zone, where temperatures are suited to surface oceans of liquid water.
Yeah.
And decided that yes, the conditions are right for Earth.
How powerful is the telescope? Is it the difference from, I don't know if you've ever been to the top of the Empire State Building.
Yes, sir. I have.
And if you look over the edge, you can't really see. People look like ants. But if you put a quarter, 25 cents into the telescopes, then you can actually make out what people are wearing. Are these telescopes powerful enough to see people?
Oh, my friend.
Huh?
Look, we're looking at something that is, well, it's infinitely more powerful than that.
So we can see closer than just what they're wearing?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, absolutely. We're talking about something that's 39 light years away.
Right.
That's an awful lot further away than looking at the bottom of the Empire State Building. But
can we?
You're pulling my leg.
I'm getting confused. I'm not convinced that this proves anything. Really, I don't. There are no photographs of these planets. This is the picture in the sun is clearly drawn by someone,
right.
and we don't know this exists. There's a big campaign at the moment, isn't there, about fake news and the mainstream media lying to us.
Yes, sir.
And I would suggest that this is just fake news. It distracts us from what's going on in our own pathetic lives.
If you were prepared to read my book, Alien Invasion: Dawn of the Hybrid Superspecies, you'll find out that far from this being fantasy, far from this being fake news, as I believe you call it, it's very clear what's happened. Alien came, did it with a monkey, and what we have now is human beings. I don't think that's.
What did you say about a monkey? I looked away for a second. What did you say about a monkey?
An alien done it with a monkey. That's how, basically, in colloquial terms, that's how human beings came about.
An alien done it with a monkey?
Yes, okay, he did.
An alien done it with a monkey?
A monkey, yes, that's what happened, yes.
Why would an alien do it with a monkey? And that made humans? That made humans?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, that is my contention in my book.
In the book, Alien Invasion: Dawn of the Hybrid Superspecies.
Yes, an alien came down, it had sex with a monkey. I mean, how is it that we have monkeys? Apparently, Homo sapiens have...
What if I had sex with a monkey?
If you had sex with a monkey...
Yes? What would happen? I'd be arrested.
I'm not here...
Joe?
Hello?
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 Sorry, I'm not here to advocate you having sex with a monkey, no.
We've got some calls. Would you like to...
I'm not prepared to be drawn on that one, sorry.
Okay. Would you like to take some calls?
Yes, please.
Let's go to Malcolm. Malcolm, you're through to the Professor.
Hello, Professor. I would just like to ask, why has the Americans not gone back to the moon? And is it true that they reckon that there could be some kind of glass structures on the moon or something? Because I've heard that on Howard Hughes' show on the station
Howard
here.
Hughes.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Okay,
why haven't they gone back to the moon?
Well, I believe, through Russia, China, and America, the space station and so forth, that there's very little more they can research from the moon. I mean, the moon is a lump of rock. I'm not sure what that's going to give us.
What about the glass structures that Malcolm mentioned on the moon?
Well, yes, I mean, there are structures on there. I believe that there are houses, they're rudimentary houses. I'm a believer in that.
On the moon?
Dwellings, yeah, domiciles, yes. Wow. I do believe that.
Wow.
And any rudimentary research will show you that you only have to look, you look that up, houses on moon.
Mm-hmm.
Look that on Google. You will find that.
Malcolm, have you heard? So you've heard about this, have you, Malcolm? Houses on the moon?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a theory about it, actually. I believe that there were advanced civilizations on this planet, and we've probably been hit by something like maybe a meteorite or something.
Yeah.
That's wiped them out. I think people have actually been to the moon from this planet, not aliens, but I think advanced civilizations on this planet once existed, and they're wiped out by either solar changes or polar changes.
Malcolm, can I ask, what do you think about the professor's assertion that an alien came down and did it with a monkey?
I just find it rather bizarre. I don't believe in it.
No, but the stuff about super beings...
Apparently you're prepared to believe Malcolm, you can't be selective with these things. What I want to ask you, Malcolm, is what evidence do you have of aliens living amongst us? Because that's one of my assertions, that there are aliens living on Earth. Do you believe that out?
Really, do you know that the Egyptians existed? There were advanced civilizations similar to them.
The Egyptians still exist, I think.
Sorry?
I think the Egyptians still exist. I know they had some troubles over there.
What I'm trying to say, Ian, is I believe that there were quite advanced civilizations around, and they may have actually gone to the moon themselves. And I think,
like in wooden rockets.
We know very little about this planet that we live on.
It's true.
Go back to the Jurassic period all the time and things like that. I don't know.
Joe, we're asking. James on Twitter is asking if you can. Last time you came on, you drew us a picture.
Yes, sir.
Apologies. You sent us a photograph of your evidence of aliens. Are there any illustrations in this new book, Alien Invasion: Dawn of the Hyper?
Yes, there are. And I will
I'm not finished. That you could send over to me so I can tweet them out.
Okay, I have various diagrams that I have drawn based on various research I have done throughout the United States and this country and Europe. I am prepared to send you one of my illustrations later on.
Fantastic.
I will do that.
And can you explain to us, I know the story behind this, but there is a very pertinent reason why you're not on Twitter. You don't trust Twitter, do you?
No, sir. Sir.
Tell the listeners why not.
Well, I tell you why, sir, because as Malcolm who you just spoke to, the world we've been infiltrated by alien species. Call them what you like, extraterrestrials, higher form intelligence, aliens. They are living amongst us.
They could be listening to this show right now.
Well, very possibly.
If they've got DAB.
And this is, you joke about it, Ian, but these people...
Listening. The aliens could be listening. If you're... Here we go. I'll do it. Let's do it. If you're an alien listening to this show right now, 0344 499 1000, and come and talk to us. There we go.
If there are any aliens, extraterrestrials who want to phone in and speak to me, I will be able to tell if they're from this world or not.
Okay.
I've done extensive research. 45 years in this business will tell me if they are extraterrestrials. But if they want to phone in and speak to me, sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Caller, you're through to the professor. Now, alien or real?
Now, you laugh, Ian. Is that an alien? What is?
You tell me, Professor.
Hello.
Hip, hip, hip.
Hello?
Hello?
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. Do you understand me?
Are you peaceful? Are you peaceful?
He's gone.
Are you peaceful?
He's gone. He's just disappeared.
Well, this is what I'm talking about, Ian. I don't know whether that was a human being or whether that was extraterrestrial. I would encourage him to phone back. Let's talk.
Vaughan has tweeted, 0344 499 1000. Dan will come to you in a second. Vaughan has tweeted, can you ask the professor if aliens carry out anal probes on pets? I had to take my budgie to the vet and they phoned the police.
I think you're pulling my leg. Is that right?
No, Vaughan is actually very, very ill, so I don't think he's in the mood for making jokes.
Well, if you read my book, Alien Invasion: Dawn of the Hybrid Superspecies, you will realize that yes, that there's a certain amount of anal probing that they do.
With pets, though.
I don't know about pets, but a human, a man's anus, they put a finger. They got long fingers and they stick it up there.
What do they do that for? What do they get out of it apart from smelly fingers?
Temperature. They can take blood samples. They can fecal samples. These are all things that the aliens like. To us, it's appalling. Perhaps someone wants to.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as saying appalling, Joe. Some people, it might be a bit of fun.
Not with a long finger. Look, listen, they got long fingers.
We're going where we don't want to go. Dan, you're through to the professor.
Hi, Professor Laevens.
Professor Laevens? What did you call me?
Professor Laevens.
Yes, I heard you the first time. You're going to be silly about it.
Hi. I've got some questions for you, Professor. I've been following your career, and it's been quite an interesting talk tonight.
Okay.
With regards to those 7 new planets that NASA have located, how confident are you that those are genuine? Because using the probes that we've got so far, they found the face on Mars, if you remember, and that turned out just to be shadows, wasn't it?
I don't know what it was. Why do you... Excuse me, sir, why do you think that's just shadows? Why would you think that?
Because science.
Because science.
Wow. Because science. You're a scientist yourself, aren't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, I am.
I mean, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn.
It's a little bit rude, Dan.
Yeah, I don't mean to be, because obviously, the professor is very respected in his field. But I was completely under the impression that the face on Mars was.
Well, okay, let's put that to one side. What's your question, Dan?
These 7 new Earth-like planets. Firstly, I mean, we need to know. I mean, we've already got this Earth-like planet, and it isn't the Earth-like planet it used to be. It weighs a bit more than it used to. These 7 new Earth-like planets, will any of them be feeling the impact of Brexit? And are there any Muslims on those
ridiculous.
planets?
Ian, please, this is ridiculous.
Okay, I've cut him off. He's gone.
I'm so sorry. Look, I'm a very well-respected scientist.
No, and
I've worked for NASA. I've worked in Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
No, I've cut him. Why hasn't he cut off? That should have
get rid of them.
I'm trying to. The touch screen doesn't seem to be working.
I mean, we keep looking for standard kinds of
put it out.
I can't.
He's still here.
Dan, I want to cut you off, but I can't cut you off my screen. Can you just hang up?
Do I have to?
Yeah, because I can't cut you off, so you're just going to have to. It would be if you could just put the phone down. Okay, he's gone now.
This is, I don't have to put up with this.
No.
If you want to phone, I'm happy.
He's still there. He's still there.
He's still there.
Can you
get rid of this guy?
Right, he's gone now. Jimmy, you're through to the professor.
Hello.
Jimmy, you're through to the professor.
Oh, sorry, mate. Hello, professor. I read a book called The Science Delusion by Rupert Sheldrake, and heard a few podcasts that mention that DNA for human life couldn't have possibly come from this planet, or this planet didn't house the environment to begin human life. Just wondered what your thoughts were on that.
Absolutely.
The aliens done it with a monkey.
I was using a colloquial. Term. Yes, I believe that aliens have had sexual intercourse with a monkey, and that's how we were propagated as a human species. What I'm saying to you is, you only have to look around you. Which other creature, which other species destroy their own environment? None. The human being does.
Hang on, Professor.
I'm still speaking.
No, I know, but you're talking utter guff. Jimmy, you want to come back to that?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm from Walthamstow, and there definitely are some alien-looking people around here. So some of it makes a bit of sense to me. But
I'm just going to hang up. I'm just going to go.
No, Professor.
No. Hold on. No. I partially see where you're coming from, and I mean, even people. I think is it Crick who discovered DNA. Supposedly discovered DNA whilst high on LSD.
Yeah.
And some crazy ideas have come from people.
So you're asking, does the professor do drugs?
No, I'm asking the professor.
Is that what you're asking?
Do you trust these people and their previous their previous theories? And do you apart from believing that alien had sex with a monkey, do you actually genuinely believe that we are not from here originally?
Yes, I do. I believe.
How do you explain?
Are you drinking?
No, I'm not.
Are you on LSD, Jimmy?
No, I've never been on no LSD. No. I was just sitting. I was bored. I was at home. I was wondering why. I've always wanted to be able to do a backflip, and I've never been able to do a backflip. And then I've come off of that subject.
Ian,
the radio on, and then
I've always wanted to do the thing, Jimmy, where you run up the wall and flip over.
See, stuff
like
that.
An alien can do that. An alien can do that.
Hang on a minute, Professor. This is interesting. Have you ever tried to do it, Jimmy? Because I've tried to do the running up the wall thing, but I bottle it just as I approach the wall.
See, that's exactly what I've done.
All those people, hang on, Professor, those people that can just stand there, and then they just jump up and they flip over and land on their feet again.
Exactly. Now, I see that kind of stuff. Maybe the professor could see, Professor,
have you... speak about that.
No, I don't want
to tell you how to run up the wall. No. What are you, nuts?
What about ninjas? Because ninjas do some pretty crazy stuff that could be...
Ninjas are nuts, man. This stuff they can do.
Nothing to do with it. Ninjas have nothing to do with extraterrestrials. They're human beings.
Yeah, but they're human beings that came from extraterrestrials. So do you...
And the monkeys.
What you're saying. So do you believe that the extraterrestrials have left some skills here that maybe some people like possibly like...
The wall.
Are you saying... Hang on a minute, Professor, just to bring it back on point, are you suggesting that Jackie Chan is an alien?
No!
That's kind of what I was...
Chinaman.
So how do you explain the skills of ninjas when you're saying that aliens had sex with monkeys? Monkeys are super agile. Aliens are super nuts with the kind of skills they got. Put that together.
I'm not saying Chinamen are aliens. I'm not
because if you were suggesting that Chinamen were aliens, that would...
Chinamen are not aliens.
That could be perceived as racism. And
I'm not saying Chinamen are aliens or racism.
What would you say on Earth that we could look at? Let's say, I don't know, ninjas, people that can backflip, people.
What about I saw on the American Record Breakers a lady that could make her eyes pop out.
Exactly.
Right,
is she an alien?
I've seen it. She was on UB Framed as well.
Yeah, she was. Is she?
So who's closest then? Who here? What can we see here? Because when I see a ninja, I think that's from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Mate.
I am telling you. Listen to me. Please listen to me.
Because I've tried. I'm sorry, but I've tried to be.
Please listen to me.
So long.
Listen to me. Chinamen or ninjas are not aliens. Okay.
Japanese.
I'm telling you now there are aliens listening. Now, if they want to phone in and tell me what their skills are.
No aliens have called in so far.
We don't know that. We don't know that first one who phoned in.
Caddick. It's 50.
You know him?
He phones in from time to time, but
okay.
You know,
I thought he
sometimes
might have been.
I guess we've got another call coming through. We'll take that, and then let's just go to this now. Brian, you're through to the Professor.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello, Professor. I want to ask you a couple of questions. Number one, what qualifications have you got to say that you're a scientist? And B, do you believe in God? Because I believe in God, and I believe that God created everything.
Number one. Question first, then B.
I'll ask question number one first, and then question B second.
Okay.
Well, I have worked for the Massachusetts Institute for Technology. I've worked for NASA.
He's got certificates. He's got certificates.
I've been trying to.
I'm wondering, do you have a master's degree or
I do have a master's degree from Pennsylvania University. Yes, I do.
All right.
What's your point?
I was just asking. That was all. I just wondered if you were actually bona fide scientist. That was all.
Where's that accent? Is that? Where are you from? Want to tell me where you're from?
I'm from Middlesbrough, mate. On Teesside.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
And question B, Brian. What was question B again? Out of the
question B.
I was asking him what his views were on the existence of God.
Wow.
Because I believe in God.
Okay.
Oh, the God complex. Look, I believe there's a God. I believe that there's a being that formed the universe, and I believe that there are bigger powers than ours on
Can
Earth.
I ask a question? Can I interrupt? Who's right? Is it the Christians or the Muslims?
Is that a question to me?
That's Brian. Who do you think's right? The Christians or the Muslims?
Well, the thing is, Muslims have got their God, Allah. Christians have got their God, haven't they?
Huh?
So I suppose everybody, depending on what religion you are, have got your own view.
Your God, Brian,
your own God is.
Brian, if your God had a fight with Allah, who do you think would win?
Well, I don't know. To me, it's probably the same God, isn't it?
Oh.
It's the creator of everything. It'll be one God, but obviously in different parts of different nations around the world, different gods. What I'm trying to say is Jesus came to the West, from Israel and whatever,
yes.
from the Middle East, and then obviously they've got their own messiahs in different parts of the world, haven't they?
Joe, would you like to say anything? We're getting a few more calls.
Me?
Yes, Joe.
You want to talk to me?
Yeah. I'm talking to you.
I'm not going to get involved with this. I'm not nuts. You think I'm going to get involved with this?
Okay, Brian, thanks for your call. Let's go to...
God's sake, who are these people who listen to your...
It's Martin...
Have a serious conversation, please.
Let's go to Martin Sweetheart in Huddersfield. Good evening, Martin.
That's right, darling. I've got a lot of beliefs in these things, but I'd like to ask him, because I had an encounter with God 25 years ago, and he put this with God himself. I might be on practice, but he put this like a dot in the eye, and I'm wondering, does he think that an angel for a world has X-Men? In X-Men, there's a person...
All right, listen, can I just interrupt? I don't know what one word you've just said.
Okay,
I did not understand one word you just said.
Right, calm down, Professor. Martin's
slower.
Just hold on.
Martin's talking about...
something in your eye? What?
Yeah. Let me ask you a question then. What do you know about 0-point field?
Excellent question.
What?
0-point fields.
What do you know about
what you're talking about?
You've never heard of the 0-point field?
I can't understand what you're saying. The 0-point field.
Because you're a professor. Now, 0-point field, scientists say that is the source in the universe in which all things come from. If you're a scientist, how come you never heard of the theory of 0-point field?
Of course I've heard of the 0-point field.
Okay, tell me about it, please.
Well, no, we're not here to put him on the...
vacuum state. The quantum field theory, the vacuum state is the quantum state with the lowest possible energy. It contains no physical particles. That's the energy of the ground state. This is called the 0-point energy. Okay?
Happy, Martin?
No, I'm not, because what I'd like to also say, right, because, you see, darling, my surname's Gabriel, and I had an encounter with God 25 years ago.
Okay, we're not with Martin. With respect,
my God's sake,
we're kind of slightly going off on a tangent. The professor is here to talk about his book, Alien Invasion: Dawn of the Hybrid Superspecies.
I saw a UFO when I was 10 years old.
Here we go. We're back in.
Yes, now you're talking. Now you're talking. Go on.
Boom.
I saw a UFO when I was 10 years old. Now, this UFO had a symbol at the bottom of it. When I was 25 years old, I found a pebble, a white pebble, and on the pebble it had the same symbol of the UFO. It had a key drawn on it and a triangle. Now, Jesus in the Bible said he would give certain members a white pebble, and on that pebble something written that no one knows except the person receiving it. Now, this symbol at the bottom of this UFO,
Going to hurry you up to a question, Martin, please.
Yeah, okay.
What was the symbol? Tell me, man. What was the symbol? What was on it?
The symbol is like a Pisces, like a H symbol. And I've seen a program about UFOs recently, and there was a UFO on there exactly with the same symbol. It's like a H.
I've got to push you to a question, Martin.
Okay, my question is, don't be too hepped up. You're hepped up. The question I'm asking is, do you believe that these aliens in X-Men, the film, that these aliens come with a gift, like the people in X-Men have one has a certain gift for one talent, and another one has a...
Like one can sort of slow down time, can't they?
Yeah,
and the Wolverine, of course, is an X-Man, and he's got sideburns and knives instead of fingers.
Yeah, and there's one who can what's the word I'm looking for? He can make himself become a point of energy.
Isn't there one that
point himself up?
Isn't there one that can jack off quicker than anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, there's one who can dematerialize and appear somewhere else.
Yeah.
Now, this dot that I have in my eye...
Please get to the question, Martin, because I want to get Kai in before we let the professor go.
I'm asking the question...
Okay, it's taking 10 minutes.
Quick.
Okay, right, the question
What is the question?
What would you like? What power would you like mankind to have now?
Joe, Professor, if you were a member of the X-Men, which one would you like to be?
Jacking off.
Okay. We've got time for one more call. Let's go to Kai. Good evening, Kai.
Good evening.
Kai, you're through to the professor. What would you like to ask?
Do you understand me? I'm just
yes, I do, yes.
Hello. Are you from this world?
Yes, I am from this world, UK.
You could be lying. I don't know. Okay, let's go.
Kai, what's your question to the professor? Because we're all keen for him to put the phone down and send us a picture of an alien.
I know an alien film, right? It's called E.T.
Yes.
Yes.
Have
you ever seen that?
Ian, I think.
Have you ever seen E.T.? Answer the question, Professor. Did you cry?
E.T. Yes, I did, and that's a lovely way to finish it.
Kai, I hope that answers your question, Kai.
Waste of my time and yours.
Okay, does that answer your question, Kai?
And did you enjoy it?
Did you enjoy E.T.?
Yes, I did. Thank you, sir.
That's great, Kai. Kai, does that answer your two questions?
Yes, it does, yeah.
Thank you very much. Did you cry, Kai?
I cried a lot, like this.
What do you think of Chinamen? Do you think that they're possibly aliens, Kai?
Yes, there's aliens out there.
Thank you very much indeed. Professor, it's a pleasure as always. The book coming out soon, Alien Invasion, Dawn of the Hybrid Superspecies. And if you can get me a picture of those aliens, I'll tweet it out.
I'm going to send you a picture now.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Professor, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. OK, the show continues apace. 0344 499 1000. Late Nights with Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
The radio show for people who know the best part of the day is the night.
Late Night Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
We have ways of making you talk.
Isn't it funny? I had no idea how tonight was going to go. I thought we'd have Louis on. Louis and I have been chatting on Twitter openly, and we had a few conversations in private as well, a few DMs and a few, kind of mutual appreciation society. And also he stuck up for me a few times in a very, very sweary way that I never could when I was getting trolled by a couple of ex-radio presenters. And I think he's very, very funny. I think he's a really good man. He's a good man. And it just, because I saw him tweet, someone retweeted, he's also quite a modest man. Someone retweeted the tickets for the show that he was doing with Neil Shad. I'd love a coffee, by the way, please. I'd love a coffee if Ed's going off. And when you see a tweet, and it didn't really register with me, and I looked at it and I thought, it's Hull, I can't do that. And I think I'm doing an Iain Lee versus radio that night, so I couldn't go anyway. And they just said, this will be a perfect opportunity for me and Louis to speak together. And we haven't actually spoken in this weird world where people communicate via Twitter. And it'd be nice to plug his show and we'll have a chat and he'll come on for 20 minutes and that'll be that. I really didn't expect to be talking to him for the full hour, and I could have spoken to him for the whole show. We'll get him on again, because I have so many tweets. We'll put it out as a podcast tomorrow. So many tweets as well. And I think that this is what late night radio is for. Right, this is what late night radio is for. It's just nice, relaxed conversation. There doesn't have to be a ruck every single time. There doesn't have to be an argument. There doesn't have to be an angle or an edge. I was genuinely interested in what he had to say, and it tied in a lot as well with the conversation. Some of the guests we've had recently, Tommy Cannon and Bernie Clifton last week. And I really do recommend, if you're in Hull or near Hull, and you've got the chance, it's £8. What can you get for £8? A night out for £8. Absolute brilliant evening. I really recommend you go. And if you do, you get a chance to say hello to Louis afterwards. Mention that you heard him on the show. But I thoroughly recommend it. And more stuff like that. I guess what he's doing with that is kind of sort of what we're trying to do by getting people on like Tommy Cannon and Bernie Clifton. It's just acknowledging their work and saying thanks. Thanks very much. So that was good. Really enjoyed that. And then the Professor stuff. Isn't it funny how, well, look, Martin's called back in. Evening, Martin.
Hello, sweetheart. I'd like to say that Professor's a bit aggressive, isn't he? No, is that his natural ambience? I mean, because I've spoken a lot about these things in the past, and I could have told him a story about 25 years ago when I saw other planets. What it was is I had this spiritual encounter where I saw this angel. Yeah. And after seeing this angel, I went into the park to calm down after seeing it. Yeah. Then I looked towards the eastern skies, and suddenly a world appeared. What? Now, this planet...
Hang on a minute. It's gone from you sitting in the park to calm down to you look towards the eastern skies and the world appeared.
Oh, and a world. Now, the thing is, this planet was just like ours. Yeah. But it had an orange ozone layer around it. And then about 10 years after, I was going to tell James Whale about this phenomenon that I encountered.
Yeah.
But I said to myself, well, I won't bother tonight. And then James Whale had a guest who came on, and he said thousands of years ago, people had reported seeing a planet with a golden ozone layer around it. Now, coincidence of coincidences, I mean, how could that be a coincidence, you know? And because I told you the other night that my hobby is creating a universe for my future life after this one.
Yeah.
I said to myself once, right, I'm going to visualize, put 9 UFOs in the sky, anywhere around the planet, and somebody will see these 9 UFOs. Yeah. I'm going to have them combating, shooting at each other, and then when I get somebody will tell me that, and it could be on radio or television, then I'll speak to my uncle one day, and he said to me, oh, I went to a UFO conference, and somebody stood up and they reported seeing 9 UFOs shooting at each other. Now, I didn't tell him this. And what it is, scientists now believe there's a theory called
the bullshine theory.
Ordering.
This is what Noel Edmonds was into, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So this
you write on your hand you want £1,000, a packet of snouts and a dolly bird, and you get them.
Yeah, exactly. So this professor, you see, he needs to calm down. You know, it's little stories like these that matter. It's not these big scientific knowledge of fantastic words. People who have little stories, them are the ones who are important. But
I agree.
In his professorship, that he believes that you have to.
He does have an air of superiority about his ambience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, darling, I hope But as I say, there is more to life than umping women and going to watch football. But you've got to balance it. You've got to balance it, haven't you, really? Because a lot of people don't find balance in life.
No.
I mean, because there's a lot of people who know stuff like this, but then when you tell other people, like him, you think that you're taking the mickey out of him or you're talking nonsense. So, anyway, I'd just like to say that the man needs to cool down and relax,
Thank you, Martin.
and take on.
Thank you, Martin. I appreciate that. You have a nice evening, my love. Ta-ta.
Okay,
bye, darling. Bye, darling. Bye, sweetheart. 0344 499 1000 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Feel free to call in. Oh, by the way, I should just say, and I can never remember this. I want to get this gentleman's name right. Hang on a second. Tomorrow, Miles Johnston's coming on. Do you remember Miles? He talked about the Nazi bell. We had him on before, and he spoke. He's kind of similar. It's a kind of similar conversation that we had with Joe. So Miles Johnston's going to be on tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. So that's something to look forwards to. So you can call in. The way the show works now for the next hour and a quarter is, I sit here and I'll go through the papers. We'll invite Kath in a bit, and you can call in about the stuff that you've heard, or you can call in about anything you want, really, anything that's bothering you, anything that's on your mind. I know. I don't want to make light of the storm, because I know at least one person lost their life, so I wouldn't want to, in any way, kind of demean that. I don't know the full story around that. I just heard the headline. But I'm quite happy to get storm stories today, only because I went out and took the dog for a walk, and she got blown backwards. It was hilarious. The dog got blown backwards. We went out, and our kind of front door is shielded a bit, and we went out into the street. She got blown backwards. It was the funniest thing. Wasn't it windy? Hey, wasn't it windy today? Oh, it was windy today. I loved it. You can give us a call about that if you want, or I'll just sit here and go through the papers. I don't mind. 0344 499 1000 is the telephone number if you want to give me a call. Late Nights with Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
Late Night Iain Lee.
On air and off the leash.
On Talk Radio.
We have ways of making you talk.
Do you know what I think's quite sad? That we're only seeing Andrew Ridgeley because George Michael died. Now, what I mean by that is, I find Andrew Ridgeley fascinating, and of course he was at the Brits last night, and there's pictures of him in all the papers. Obviously paying tribute to his mate, and I think it's really sad that's I don't think he wants to live a life in the spotlight as Dredge sent me an email saying, I wonder what Andrew Ridgeley does all day. And you do have to wonder how he would fill his days. But I think it's sad that first time we see him in years and years and years, it's because his mate's passed away. It's, anyway, Late Nights with Iain Lee. If you've got a Radar Diary ticket now, guys, we need the ticks for crying out loud. The professor has just sent me a picture, a diagram of alien and monkey offspring. I'm not even sure I can tweet this picture. I'll tweet it. I've just been sent a picture from the professor. Diagram of alien and monkey offspring. Bear in mind, it is a scientific diagram. So some people might consider it not safe for work. I'm going to tweet that now. Hang on a minute. Let me just copy that. I'm going to put his... These blooming phones are rubbish, aren't they? Really. Diagram of alien and monkey offspring. Hang on a minute. Let me speak to Dennis while we're doing that. Evening, Dennis.
Good evening.
What you got for us, boss?
Well, this morning we got up and a large piece of fascia panel from underneath the tiles of somebody's house, a big white piece, 15 foot long with clips on there for the drainage system.
Yeah.
Lying in my garden, so I don't know where it's come from. It's nothing to do with us.
Oh, you don't recognise it at all?
No, it's not. It might be some of my next door neighbours, but they've been out all day and I can't get hold of them. So I'll catch them in the morning. Yeah, it's about, I say, it's very heavy. I had a hell of a job with my crutch messing about, trying to lift it.
Sorry?
You know, I have to walk around with a crutch now.
Oh, you mean like a walking stick? I thought you meant you bent down and your wanger went.
That crutch. Well, I've got to be careful there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
I do, and listen, I am aware that at least one person has died as a result of this. I'm not in any way making light. But. I do like a good, I've just tweeted that picture, by the way, and I think Ed and Catherine have just seen it. I do like a good, I was going to say I like a good blow. I don't mean that. I like it when it's blowy. I enjoy it. I enjoy walking around being buffeted by the wind.
Well, I've got to be careful. I went out on the grass with my walking stick and I nearly fell over.
Yeah.
Because it's not safe under my feet. I'm all right when I'm on concrete or in the house.
Yes, well, you be careful. Exactly, you be careful.
Don't worry, I'm working towards that 30 quid.
Mate, it's not... Your birthday's in May, isn't it?
I know.
Easy money, buddy, easy. Just send me a picture of your wife so I know who to approach at the funeral.
Oh, you spouted it on telly the other night, on the radio the other night, so I've got all these witnesses.
Yeah, well, no, actually, not that many witnesses. But, Dennis, lovely to talk to you, mate. Let's go to Cleo. Evening, Cleo.
Look,
the phones have gone mental, right? I've got calls stacked up, right? Where were you yesterday, you bastards? Where were you yesterday when I was having to fill?
Watching you squirm.
Well, no, fair play. Okay, I can understand that. I've just tweeted the picture. I've just tweeted the picture that Professor Joe Laevens has sent me. Lots of people doing that emoticon where he's laughing, but there are tears coming out of the eyes. So mixed emotions, I think that means.
It's got a penis. It's got 6 fingers.
Has it? Let me have a little look. I didn't count the number. Has it got 6 fingers? 1, 2, 3, 4.
He's written on there 6 fingers.
Oh, he has. Yeah, he says he's labelled it.
Anyway,
yeah.
Do you know what? Doris was pop up here.
What? Well, where was it blowing hardest then? Because it was windy where I was, but it wasn't like, blowing bins in the air or knocking trees over.
Everywhere apparently else other than if you look at I think I sent you a picture earlier.
Yeah.
And literally, because we were sitting here up north, all on Facebook and social media, going, "Oh, there's a big storm coming," because we don't get much entertainment up here. Yeah. And I like it when nature spanks.
Yeah, I do.
A bit.
I do.
I like that. And so it was like, ooh. So it went sort of cloudy and rained a bit.
Yeah.
Stopped, and that was sort of it. And then I went on the news, and all hell's breaking loose. London's like grinding to a halt and all that stuff.
Well, is it? I mean, I drove in later than normal because I was waiting for my wife to get back from work, and I know that she had trouble getting out of London. But when I was driving into London, the roads were empty. It was beautiful.
odd.
I don't know. It's where. Okay, let's try. We've got an hour and 10 minutes. Let's find out where Doris was blowing hardest, because there's no way round making it sound vulgar, so we might as well just dive headlong into the innuendo. Because I haven't seen any real evidence that it was actually that hard.
Well, Doris sucked up here.
Yeah, well, there you go, you see. Cleo, thank you for that. I do wonder, because it was windy where we were, but it was just very windy. I know the kids weren't allowed out at lunchtime because they were worried it was going to get a little bit crazy. Yeah, where was it? Where was it the hardest? The Midlands. It's always the Midlands. The Midlands. Tracy.
Oh yeah.
Hey Tracy, how you doing?
Yeah, Doris is bad here in the Midlands.
It was bad there, was it?
Yeah, that girl who died, she's from my hometown, like Wolverhampton.
Oh, it's sad, isn't it? It does. It is
I
sad.
can't stop thinking about it.
No,
really.
I know. It is sad to think that, you know, we are slaves to Mother Nature. You know, people lose their lives in things like this, and it's very, very sad. So I don't want to make.
I'm just wondering whether Starbucks will be at fault. Because the things I've heard, it was a table what hit her.
Was that what? I don't know. I don't really want to dwell on it too much, you know, because we don't know the story and the family's grieving. But we'll I think these things get put down to an act of God. But we'll see what happens. So was it windy in your? What happened in your street, Trace?
It was just really, really windy.
Did you go out?
The two cats, they just went and hid most of the day.
Did the cats blow off?
Yeah, they flew off.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, it was really bad in the Midlands.
Yeah, I feel I've missed out ever since. Someone posted me a picture of a wheelie bin flying in the air.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Is that possible? I showed it to my boys and said, "Oh, this is what's happening in other parts of the country." But is that possible? A wheelie bin actually? Because those wheelie bins, I can't even wheel those wheelie bins. They weigh a ton.
Not when they're empty.
Well, they're awkward. They're awkward to move when they're empty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trampolines as well. They've been flying about. Not in my street, but I've seen it on the news that a man moved his car, and as he just got in the house, a trampoline landed where he parked his car.
Flipping heck! Imagine that.
Just moved it. Yeah.
You would be gutted. I told you the last big storm about 9 years ago. A roof blew off onto the car I had.
Yeah. But in Wolverhampton, a couple of the main routes in and out of Wolverhampton have been shut because of dangerous buildings.
Has anybody who's listening to this, I'd love to be... Have you ever been in your bedroom, right, and there's been like a big storm and a tree or something... Basically, has the roof of your bedroom and your house collapsed so much that you can see sky through it? Because I'd like that.
I've never had that, no.
I'd love that. Be in bed and a tree comes crashing down and you can see out. That'd be awesome. I mean, it'd be a pain, it'd be a nuisance, but that would be pretty groovy, wouldn't it?
I don't think I'd like it.
No, actually, now I say it would probably be an absolute...
I think as a kid, they're scared, they'd be. Yeah, your two boys.
Yeah, they'd be scared, but then they'd find it funny. I took the boys out Sunday to walk the dog, because she's not been out for a long walk for a while, because we've all been busy in it, so we took her out for a long walk. And, we had a lovely...
What's her name?
Lara, and I'll bring her in again soon. I brought her in once. I'll bring her in again soon. She's getting a bit fat. We had a lovely 40 minutes with the boys just climbing this tree. We found this really good tree near where we live, and the boys were just climbing it. And then they said they needed to go for a wee, and I said, "We might as well do it while you're up in the tree." So they're weeing from the top of the tree. Oh, they were in heaven. They were in absolute heaven. Huh?
Has Lara been spayed?
Lara has been spayed, yeah, and that's
probably why she's a bit chunky now.
They put on a bit of weight when they do that, don't they? You got to cut down on their food and exercise them more.
Yeah.
But
might just good exercise for you as well, though, isn't it?
It is. I like a nice long walk over the woods around the fields, but getting that dog was the biggest mistake I've made. I think. I love her and stuff, and get this right.
So there's a lot more work, isn't there, dog?
They're a lot of work. It's like having a toddler. She's going to be 2 in June, right? She's about 20 months, right? She's only just worked out how to play fetch. Is that normal? Literally this week.
I don't know.
This week, she's just, but only indoors. If you play it outdoors in the garden or on a walk, she just follows the ball, then walks past it. Indoors, she's just started. You throw the ball, she brings it back. Stupid.
I've got a cat that plays fetch with rolled up foil.
Really? Oh, my cat don't do that. Listen, I've got to move on, Tracy. 0344 499 1000. Yeah, is that normal? So the dog's 20 months old. She's only just worked out how to play fetch. I'll bring her in again one day maybe not next week, the week after. Maybe we'll bring her in. Another hour to go, dear listener. You can call in with your storm stories. I'm going to sit here and go through the papers. You can phone up for a chitty chat. Anything you want. You know the rules. Let's try and keep it light-hearted for the last hour, shall we? 0344 499 1000. You phone up, you speak to Kath or Ed, they'll take your name and your number, and they'll give you a call back, and then you can come on the radio. It really is that simple, guys. 0344 499 1000. Late Nights with Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
Late Night, Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
We have ways of making you talk.
There's a voice that keeps on calling me. Down the road is where I'll always be. Every stop I make a new friend. Can't stay for long, just turn around and I'm gone again. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow I'll just keep moving on. Down this road that never seems to end. When new adventure lies just around the bend. So if you wanna join me for a while, just grab your hat, come travel light, that's old style. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow, the whole world is my home. So if you wanna join me for a while, just grab your hat, come travel light, that's old style. Until tomorrow, I'll just keep moving on. Maybe tomorrow, I wanna settle down. Until tomorrow, I'll just keep moving on. There's a world that's waiting to unfold, a brand new tale no one has ever told. We've journeyed far, but you know it won't be long. We're almost there and we've paid our fare with a hobo song. Maybe tomorrow I'll wanna settle down. Until tomorrow I'll just keep moving on. So if you wanna join me for a while, just grab your hat, come travel light, that's old style. Maybe tomorrow I'll find what I call home. Until tomorrow, you know I'm free to roll.
Hey, Boyley's in the studio.
Yeah.
Evening, dear listener. 0344 499 1000. I forgot we've got Dave Mason coming up. I said so in a trail, so we must play it out. That is the law of the land. Dave Mason, of course, was in Traffic, recorded a brilliant album with Cass Elliot, recorded loads of solo stuff, was in Fleetwood Mac for a brief period, played with, he plays guitar on, Hendrix's version of All Along the Watchtower. Do you know what I mean? Flippin' it. I'm gonna be honest, it's, I don't know which word to use. Clunky? No.
No.
Dry?
No.
He's obviously a very shy and private gentleman, and being interviewed does not come naturally to him. So it was a little bit. The conversation was a little bit stilted, but I think he enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and you know, it is what it is. We're going to play that before the end of the show this evening. Good evening, Kai.
Good evening. Where Doris was it bad, right?
Yes.
At Norfolk area, because we were a bus tip all day over in the field.
The bus tippled over?
Yes.
Did you get blown off?
Apparently, I wasn't on the bus.
No.
Other people were.
Yes.
And some trees are uprooted, and my uncle's and auntie's fence are blown down.
And
they had some power cuts up there as well. It was odd. Over in Norfolk area.
I miss a good late evening power cut, about 7 o'clock when it's dark. A power cut.
Yeah.
Love it.
Did you remember 1999 and that power cut?
Do you know what? 1999. I think I was in America when that's when like the whole country blacked out, didn't it? And
yes, it did. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember we were in New York. And me and my girlfriend at the time, and we were flying back, and we saw the news that basically London and a lot of England had blacked out, and they were talking about how there's only ever about 3 days worth of energy stored up, right? So if no more energy were produced, we've got 3 more days, and that's kind of how it works. But they'd run out of energy.
Yeah.
And then when we flew back, and then New York blacked out for a few hours as well. It was worrying. I do remember that, Kai. Yes.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Yes. No, I do.
Yeah.
You don't. You don't. Catherine doesn't.
I don't. Maybe I was asleep.
Yeah, maybe. That's possible. Hey, Kai. We've spoken a long time ago.
Yes, we have.
How long have you been listening to this show?
Just today.
Beautiful.
I knew about it.
How come you just found out about it today, Kai?
Because I've seen it on Facebook.
Oh, beautiful. What did you see on Facebook?
Talk Radio, and you was on it.
Hey, that's all right, isn't it? That's good to know.
Yeah.
All right, nice one. Well, it looks like the advertising of Talk Radio on Facebook is paying off.
Yeah.
Nice one, Kai. I'm glad you found us. Give us a call any time, mate.
Of course I will, yeah.
Cheers for this. Ta-ta. Bye-bye. 0344 499 1000. Yes, Ray.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I was one of the few people who actually bought Andrew Ridgeley's solo album.
Well, was it the Son of
Albert?
Son of Albert, Andrew. I was just saying, Catherine, when you popped out, that it's nice to see Andrew Ridgeley, but it's sad that we're seeing him because his mate's died.
Yeah.
And I've always had a soft spot for Andrew Ridgeley. I don't know why. And I'd like to see more of Andrew. It sounds weird. I'd like to see more of Andrew Ridgeley. I just think it's sad that the first time I've seen him in years and years and years is because he's going to make a speech about his one of his best friends dying. I think that's really, really sad. And Dredge emailed me today saying, I wonder what Andrew Ridgeley does all day. What does he do all day?
Well, isn't he still in the music business, isn't he? But I think he's a producer.
Producing what?
Other people's records.
Okay. Do you know what he does, Ray?
Well, he spent a short while in the music business, but after that failed, he went into, I think it was Formula 3 driving.
Yeah, he did that for a bit. I mean, judging from this photo, it looks like he's become a Pakistani as well.
I know, yeah.
It's strange.
He does look a bit like Art Malik.
He does. Yeah, he does. He really, really does. It's funny, isn't it? Because we've seen George Michael age. We've not seen Andrew Ridgeley age. I think I'd love. This would never happen because I get the impression he's a very private person. But I'd love to have an interview with Andrew Ridgeley. I'd love a chat with Andrew.
I'm guessing at the moment he'd be turning things down because he knows what the topic would be. But,
yeah.
But actually, that's not what we'd
No.
be interested in.
I'd want to know about being a pop star. About the thing that fascinates me about pop stars, right, Ray and Catherine, is I like the period when it starts going sour. Now, it didn't really go sour for Wham because they split up at the peak of their powers, but I like it when they release a couple of albums that don't get in the top 40, and the 5 years after the band splits up, or the 5 years after they're pop stars, before the resurgence, the inevitable resurgence, and they're sort of lost in the wilderness. It happened to the Monkees, the Beach Boys. They didn't split up, but they had a good few years in the 70s when they were nothing until a Greatest Hits came out. They couldn't even draw 200 people at a concert at one point, and I just find that period of pop. When they're over the peak and they're just coming down the other side.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's like the moment they take a breath.
Yeah.
Do you remember when George Michael released Careless Whisper? I'm sure that got people worrying that they were splitting.
Well, he did it solo, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, only in 84.
Yeah. Well, it's and I've been snarky before about when Take That split and they had like helplines and stuff. I get it. No, but I get it now. I get it. Teenage girls predominantly predominantly, because I'm involved with this Monkeys fandom, and I'm also there are some women that I've been following. There's a young lady called Psycho Jello on Twitter, and she writes really passionately about why pop music is so important to young girls and young women, and how it's a different relationship to men. And a lot of pop, like the Beach Boys and the Monkeys and the Beatles, have been overtaken by middle-aged men who know what guitar John Lennon used when he was, or George Harrison used when they were recording Taxman. Of course, it was an Epiphone Casino. But, you know, and the actual joy, the spirit, the life force that is pop is predominantly teenage girls and young women.
Yeah.
And it's reading what she's had to say about it is I've not quite got it, because I'm a 43-year-old white man, but I'm getting it.
There is there's a sisterhood and a power. The girls have the power.
Yeah.
And that's the way they feel, and they got kind of band together. My sister was massively into Take That.
Yeah.
She would have been one of those girls who was
distraught. And I get it. Having read people like Psycho Jello, Meg, her name is, I met her once when I went to New York. She's absolutely delightful. But having read what she writes and a few other female fans, it's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. And I get why Zayn leaving One Direction was heartbreaking to these kids.
Do you get why when they have a girlfriend, the girlfriend becomes the focus of
because I don't completely get it, but
it's that same power, but it's gone awry.
And the devastation when a band ends to a 13, 14, 15-year-old girl, and slightly older, that is the end of their world, because they have invested so much emotion and passion into those 4 or 5 young men, and then when that goes, there's a vacuum. It is like someone's died. There's a vacuum. Yeah. Now, of course, we're in middle age and we understand. It's just a band that's broken up, and they'll still be around, and you'll see them on reality TV and stuff. Yeah. But at that age, though, it is like someone's died. There's a vacuum is created.
Also, you've got to remember that little girls are still being brought up this way, but little girls were always brought up with this kind of princess thing. So this idea that, men in particular will laugh at, that if he just meets me, he'll sweep me off my feet and I'll be rescued and I'm going to end up married to this person. That's what it... Oh, yeah, exactly, Ray. But that's what that taps into, because that is the way little girls are still being brought up, and certainly were when I was growing up.
Nice one, Ray. Thank you for that. I might get Meg on at some point. She's a really good writer. Because it's a really interesting thing, and I'm starting to become more aware in that there is, amongst certain fans, there is a jealousy, no, bitterness, no. There's a resentment. There's a slight resentment that pop groups that are made by young teenage girls over time become taken over by white middle-aged blokes like me, spouting facts and dominating
because
stuff.
Where were they back when the girls were following them?
Exactly. I mean, imagine
probably
being
taking the mickey.
Imagine being a 43-year-old Monkeys fan in 1967. You get exactly taking the mickey. And speaking of which, I have no idea who Virginia Blackburn is. She writes for the Express, a column in Express. No idea who she is. Do you know? Have you ever?
No, I don't think so.
Listen to this. This is the snidiest. It's 4 paragraphs, right?
Go on.
This is the snidiest. I think there's a snide tone to it. You tell me. When we were young, we all knew someone who seemed to have a golden future. Gorgeous, desirable, and popular. All too often, they attain their peak of perfection in their early 20s, and after that, it all goes downhill. Look at David Cassidy. Back in the day, he was the biggest heartthrob in the world, and everything was his for the taking. And look at him now. Alcoholism, bankruptcy, and dementia. Poor chap. There's a tone in there, isn't it? That's snide.
Yeah.
That's snide. Right, first of all, alcoholism is a disease.
Exactly, she's naming 2 illnesses there.
And dementia is a disease. Bankruptcy, it's bad luck.
But it's probably linked to that illness.
And also, this is interesting, because it's been rumoured he's fallen off the wagon, but I remember when before Glenn Campbell got diagnosed with dementia, he got busted for falling off the wagon and drink driving and possibly doing cocaine again, after several years of sobriety. And I wonder if it is somehow that's a reaction to the dementia. Whether it is a deliberate, God, I'm getting really confused, I don't know what's going on, I'm going to go back to the thing I know that's safe.
Or whether it's despair.
Or whether it is the brain forgetting that you can't drink and do drugs successfully like some people can.
Or whether that's the way that they deal with some terrible news. I don't know how conscious they are of what the prognosis is.
Oh, well, look,
but if someone told me I was going to die tomorrow, I'd go hell for leather.
But Campbell and Cassidy both fell off the wagon before the dementia diagnosis, I think. And I wonder if it is the brain coming up with a coping mechanism or forgetting that you can't do drugs and drink in the same reserved way that other people can, or what. I don't know what it is. But I just thought, back in the day, he was the biggest heartthrob. Look at him now. Alcoholism, bankruptcy and dementia. Poor chap. I think that's so mean. That's so mean. And I just think that's awful. I think, honestly, and I know I bang on about this. Again, you know, a 43-year-old man who's got a thing for a pop star. Those first 4 David Cassidy solo albums, right? Partridge Family, you get Partridge Family Greatest Hits. You got 20 good, brilliant pop songs. But those first 4 solo albums, I think they're wonderful. Joyous, pop, light, fluffy, great tunes. I think they're brilliant. And I think he's a cracking entertainer. You can't have and having a snide shot at someone because they've got dementia.
Well, this is the thing, right?
I thought that was awful.
There is a tendency to think that they're punching up because someone's had it all in their early 20s, right? I can't imagine how hard it must be. And this is going to sound like again, Ray would probably, but to have everything you've ever wished for at 18, 19, 20, to be able to do whatever you wanted to. Yeah. Biggest curse you can get because there's nothing to work for anymore. All you're going to crave is sensations. And that's where the drink and the drugs come in.
Cassidy obviously was a huge teen idol, right? And he that wasn't the kind of music he listened to. So he became a big star about 17, 18. And he listened to like Jimi Hendrix and hard rock and stuff. And he did the Partridge Family stuff, did the David Cassidy teen idol stuff, sold millions and millions of albums. And he got Rolling Stone magazine, the serious rock magazine, said, "We want to do a piece on you." And he was like, "Oh, hello." And they stitched him up. They kind of told him they were going to do a serious music piece. And I think he may have even done a nude photo for it, I think, as was quite popular in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And in the piece, he talked about how he smoked dope and how he liked Jimi Hendrix, and they did this new thing. And they they took advantage of his openness because he thought this was going to be a mature piece, and they ripped him to pieces.
What, they made it sound like he was turning his back on what he'd been before.
They made him sound like a knob, basically, and it destroyed his pop career and it destroyed everything. You know, I find him fascinating. You can get his book. He wrote a book. You can get it for probably a penny on eBay, and it is such a good read. He writes with real honesty and openness, and I know that Howard Kalin from Flo and Eddie and the Turtles, they're really good friends with him. They sang on loads of his records. The Beach Boys produced some of his later stuff. Mm-hmm. Bruce Johnston and Carl Wilson. Carl Wilson sang on loads of his records. He did the first recorded version, I think, possibly the second, but I think the first of I Write the Songs before Barry Manilow. He's a cracking thing. And to have a pop at him because he's got dementia? How does that work? Anyway, 0344 499 1000, Late Nights with Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
The wild man of late night radio is back.
Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
We have ways of making you talk.
Also in this Virginia Blackburn column, you pointed out Kathy's done a little bit of a dig at Tara Palmer Tompkinson as well. What a nice woman. What a nice woman. Well done. And you go on Twitter and turns out she's famous for having a pop at the dead and the dying. I mean, really? What did you do at work today, Mummy? Well, there's this guy, and he was really famous in the 70s, but he's a bit arrogant. Anyway, he's got dementia, so I wrote a piece slagging him off. Oh, right, yeah, nice one, Mum, well done. Gosh. Ripley!
Hello?
Hello, Ripley.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah.
I just want. I'm down to performance ring. I just need to be confirmed if that's actually happening.
Yeah, God, no.
Not another one.
No. Ripley sent me an email.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, no, you did, and I'm totally sorry because I've been. Yeah, and I thought I'd sent you an email earlier on.
Fine.
Did I send you an email? Yes. Do you want to be on?
I do. I'm not professional. Or anything.
No, nobody is.
Right?
Yeah, no. Oh, Ripley. And I know exactly who you are, and I shall introduce you to Catherine properly in a second. No. The point of Performance Ring on Sunday is nobody's professionals, Ripley. Some will have done it. Some will have done it a couple of times. There might be a couple of people that have done it a few times and worked the clubs.
We've had people on before who've only ever done it on their own in their bedrooms.
Yeah.
Which sounds dodgy,
the magician.
Yeah, that's me. I've never done it.
Beautiful. We've got Dana's performing. Dana's the only repeat performer we've got. This will be the second time she's done it. Honestly, Ripley, anybody who's coming down, and I'm sorry I didn't reply to you. It's just been a bit nuts. Anybody who's coming down to perform, the ethos behind Performance Ring is it is supportive. I mean, we had a fella that came on. I won't embarrass him by naming him. We had a fella that came on, and he was trying to sing some songs, and he'd lost his voice, and he was struggling to get those. He got nervous, and he flustered, and he forgot the chords and stuff. But everybody, that room was 100 people were willing him on. They were willing him on. No one was going, "Oh, brilliant, he's messed it up."
When he started forgetting the words, they were singing it with him.
Yeah. So honestly, Ripley, nice. And if at any point, if you're on stage and you go, "Do you know what? This isn't working. I'm going." Me and Kath will come up afterwards. There's no snide comments. There's no, "What was that?" There's none of that. It's love, man. It's love.
Just come and have a go.
Now.
Yeah. What time do I need to get there? For like 7?
7 o'clock, please.
I know the Bill Murray's in Islington, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't need any technical requirements, do you?
No, I don't. No. Just a mic.
Yeah. I'm wondering if I've emailed, because I thought I'd emailed everyone. Anyway, doesn't matter. Now, Ripley works at the Regent Street Cinema. Am I correct?
Yes, that's it. We're going to try. I wanted to try and do something with you, the guys there. Yeah.
This is that gentleman.
Right.
Now, here's the thing, Ripley. We've got a few things on at the moment that are we're selling tickets for. So I don't want to.
Yeah, of course.
But maybe in the summer. If that's not too far ahead, maybe in the summer, because we've got the performance rings, and I've got a couple of Iain Lee's versus radios, and I don't want to keep tapping people up to come and buy tickets. So maybe if we can come up with something really exciting, we could do something in the summer. And now I know now you've mentioned that cinema, I know exactly where it is, and I walk past it quite a lot.
It's the oldest cinema in the country. It's beautiful.
I've never been in, but the outside of it is absolutely stunning.
Yeah, we were looking at the pictures.
Lovely in there.
Looks amazing.
Yeah, it's lovely. Well, you're welcome to come down, guys, if you want, as I said.
Nice one,
and we'll organise something. We'll have a look for the summer.
We'll do something. We will definitely do it. It's an offer too good to refuse, I'm afraid, so we'll be having some of that. I'm sorry you had to phone in, Ripley. That's terrible.
No, that's fine. I'm excited. I've never called before. I'm excited, and I look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Nice.
On Sunday!
Sunday. Nice one, mate. Thank you very much. Oh, this is the most unprepared I've ever been for a performance.
Can you just shoot them all an email?
Well, I did. I thought I did.
Just to say.
Well, I thought.
Just checking you got my email, guys.
I thought I did. Everybody. I thought I did. It's really tricky because I have to put it in the blind CC. Hang on a minute. Here we go. So yes, who's that? That's Will. Just to double check. Ripley, I sent you an email on the 13th of February, man.
You might have gone in his junk.
I'll go in his junk in a minute and shove it up his backside. God damn it, Ripley. Yeah, so that'd be good. And yeah, we're going to think of to be offered a cinema, the oldest cinema in the country, and to screen the film. Yeah, it's an offer too good to refuse. But I am aware, dear listener, that we've got a few ticket things, and things are tough out there. Speaking of which, March the 26th, I think it is, we're recording the next Rabbit Hole. Some tickets for that. And also May the 6th, our first one in Manchester. Ticketsource.co.uk/Iain-Lee is the website if you want it. Have I got that right?
I'm looking forward to the Manchester one. I just hope we're not down there on our own.
Well,
up there, rather.
We've sold half the tickets for Manchester. It's a small venue, it's kind of a punt, because I don't know. I've never played Manchester. I don't know if we've got an audience there. If we were to play Edinburgh, we get an audience. But I don't know if we've got an audience in Manchester. So,
we'll soon find out.
We shall soon find out. And with all these things, we had to nip off a bit sharpish after the last Rabbit Hole because I was really worried about losing my voice and I had to be up early to teach. But with all of these things, me and Kath stick around. If you've got pictures or things you want signed, you are being kind enough to put money in our pockets. So the very, very least we can do is stick around and have pictures and answer questions and do all of that stuff. We love doing all that stuff. So that's the end of that. That's the end of that, dear listener. Let's take a quick break. 0344 499 1000.
The radio show for people who know the best part of the day is the night.
Late night Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
We have ways of making you talk.
0344 499 1000 is the telephone number. If you want to give us a call, you're more than welcome. Gosh, I feel a little bit awkward after that. I won't say on air, obviously, but I've just had a message. It's a strange old world, isn't it? Oh, I feel tingly and uncomfortable.
Well,
nothing we can do about it now. But yeah, okay. Oh, I feel weird. I feel really weird. I feel a bit lightheaded. Can we go on?
In a minute.
Oh, I feel sick. Someone sent me a private message on Twitter that says, rocked my world. Everything's fine. No one's died. But it's just made me question everything that I believe to be true. I think I'm coming off Twitter. I can't handle the stress.
I think it might be an idea.
I think I'm going to come
off. Or take it off your phone again.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to. I can't handle the stress of that. Oh, God. What do I do? What do I do?
Nothing you can do. Let's press on.
Oh, dearie me. Let's see what we've got in the Daily Star. Where is the Daily Star?
I brought it.
No. Oh, they're there. Look, they're over there. No. What about it? There's not much in the papers there. We'll play Dave Mason in a bit. Men who work out too much in the gym have a lower appetite for sex. What is that?
Does that mean people that work out and take a lot of steroids?
Must be. Well, they're tiny.
Yep.
They shrink. Why does steroids shrink the penis so much? Why is the penis involved? Oh, I feel sick after that. I can't carry on. I feel really sick. I've got no idea how to reply to that.
Just have a think.
Can you tell me what to write?
Yeah, in a minute.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
I don't want to open the file. Sent me a file.
We'll both open it.
With evidence.
We'll both have a look. Come on.
The average Briton has a bust-up with their partner 6 times a month.
What?
According to new research. Is that all?
That's bullshine.
Not listening, saying the wrong thing, thoughtlessness and snoring are the main cause of 72 rows a year.
You can't row with someone for snoring. It's not like they're doing it on purpose.
And 10% of couples fall out over a lack of sex. But half of Brits agree spats are a normal part of relationship, according to dating website eHarmony. When I went to get my haircut, I go to a barber's now. Mm-hmm. There's a young man that does it. I say young, he's 33.
He's about my age then.
He was telling me, get real. He was telling me all about Tinder.
Right.
Flipping heck. He was working, I'm going to change the names of the towns, because I don't in any way want to identify it. Let's just say he was working in Newcastle, right? And as
he's working through Newcastle.
Well, as he was getting the train up there, he's flicking through it, and he got 12 people like him. So then he met this girl, and then they had sex, and then she went off, and then he was going to another town the next day. So he was in Edinburgh the next day, and he went there and met some girls, and one girl super liked him, and he's just having sex all the time. I said, flipping heck, man. It's just relentless. But doing it on the phone. How is that's weird, isn't it?
Well, Tinder is only ever going to be on facial appearance, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what else do you think it's for?
It's a
Not
strange.
like you're going to meet your soulmate on there, is it?
That message is okay. That message has really discombobulated me, and let me describe my phone. I've got that nervousness in my stomach that I get when I know I've said something wrong on air, and I'm going to get in really big trouble for it, and it could potentially be a career thing. It's not what's happened, by the way, dear listener. I haven't said anything wrong on air or anything like that, but it's that kind of feeling, that dread and anxiety. Nothing bad will happen out of it. But someone I really, really like a lot has just told me something about someone that I really, really like a lot.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't know.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't know.
It seems they're not the person you thought.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just made me...
It might be that their experience is completely different.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? People, we all have different experiences of different people, and, you know... And
I usually wait until someone screws me over before I...
My bog standard line is I take people at face value, and,
sometimes it's good to know that they've got previous, but I'll wait until they do it to me.
But also, I've
judge.
got previous.
Exactly.
You know, I've got previous, and
exactly.
I'm
and some people
trying to
might
clear
say,
up my mess.
Some people might say awful things about me. I'm sure I've not behaved in the best possible way in the past, but that's not who I am now.
Yeah.
And that's not who I am to everybody.
Yeah.
And the way they see it might be different from the way I see it.
There's a brilliant book about Saturday Night Live, and in it, I think it's in that, Bill Murray talks about working with Chevy Chase. A lot of cocaine was involved in Saturday Night Live, a lot of cocaine and a lot of egos. And Bill Murray says something like, it's a long time since I've read it, something like, everybody's allowed to become an asshole when they get their first flush of fame. You know, you're young and suddenly you've got money and you've got drugs and you're on TV and you're being seen by millions of people.
Yeah.
If you don't get over that in the first 3 years and come back to being a nice person, then you're going to be an asshole for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And he points to Chevy Chase as being that case in point.
Wow.
Someone who suddenly became this big star, became arrogant and full of himself, and didn't come back down the other side and carried on. And I can well believe it. I've read, you know, he's in Community, and Dan Harmon, who made that, hated working with him. You know, said he was just an absolute nightmare to work with.
But every time that person makes a new relationship, they have the chance to turn things around, and they may not be the same with the next person.
Yeah.
So is it fair that that's held against them forever? What other people think of them? So you might meet Chevy Chase and he's really, really charming, and you end up being best buds.
Yeah.
But do you think, oh yeah, but really he's an a-hole?
Yeah.
He might be different with you.
He might be. Why are we talking about Chevy Chase?
Because we can't talk about the other person.
No names, no pack drill. Of course, this is this is even worse than I feel worse than after the night that Nazis and racists attacked me.
Do you?
Yeah, oh yeah. This is much worse, and that was bad. You know, the day after that.
I think you've forgotten how bad that was.
No, I'm talking about this week. The Nazis and racists attacked me.
Oh right.
Not when have they attacked me before?
No, that's what I meant. You were pretty. It was really bad. That.
Oh, I think I took too many pills. Though I took a lot of pills, and I did take way over my prescription.
Well, don't do that again.
No. We want to do that for a second, but this feeling is worse than that.
Well, let's see what we're dealing with.
Let's see what we're dealing with, shall we, guys? Tomorrow, Miles Johnston coming on to talk about Nazi bells.
Right. Is that what he's talking about this time?
I don't know. I just said, is there anything happening in your world? Yep. What day? What time? Is it GMT? So he's coming on at 10.
Okay.
We've got Jill Gibson, who's the third mama in the Mamas and the Papas.
Very briefly.
We're pre-recording that. We'll see what we get out of that. We may get something, we may not get a lot. But
I think she's going to be fun.
We'll have a nice chat
feeling.
with her. There have been, how many mamas have there been in the Mamas and the Papas?
Only 3.
No. I would say 5, because in the 80s, the Mamas and the Papas toured with John Phillips and Denny Doherty for a bit, then Denny died. And the other mamas were Spanky McFarlane from a group that was never big over here called Spanky and Our Gang. She was a rotund lady. And, of course, his daughter, Mackenzie Phillips, who she claims that John Phillips raped her.
That book is something else if you haven't read it.
Yeah. I mean, he was... John Phillips is... was a mess, you know, was a mess. I think he went to prison for running prescription scams and stuff, you know, a huge heroin addict. And then... when Denny Doherty left, the other papa was, that replaced him was, Scott McKenzie, Flowers in Your Hair. Oh. That guy, because John Phillips wrote that song. But imagine going to see the Mamas and the Papas, and it's just John Phillips, and another fat lady, and a daughter that he's having incestual relationships with, and that bloke that sang Flowers.
They didn't know that wasn't a selling point.
Well, I know. I know it wasn't.
You would. I mean, gosh, if they were playing near you, you would go out of curiosity apart from anything else, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Of course you would.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, yeah.
People go and see tribute bands. This is one up from a tribute band.
Yeah, but if you watch a video of... I've seen videos of those mamas and the papas. It really is...
Car crash.
Oh, it's just weird, you know. It's a weird. And Michelle Phillips was still alive, you know. She's still alive, you know, and she didn't want to do it.
Don't blame her.
The most beautiful woman in pop, Michelle Phillips. No one comes close.
Well,
no one comes close. J-Lo comes close.
Françoise Hardy.
No,
she was gorgeous.
She was gorgeous, but she's no Michelle Phillips.
Oh, come on.
No.
Michelle Phillips looks like Mia Farrow to me.
But with long hair?
Yeah.
Okay. Mia Farrow had long hair, and then she got her hair cut short, and Frank Sinatra went nuts. We're going all over the shop with this nonsense, aren't we? Let's have a quick break, then when we come back, we'll become black, when we come back, we'll be playing Dave Mason.
Uncut after-hours conversation for the up-all-night generation. Late night Iain Lee on Talk Radio.
We have ways of making you talk.
It's been a good old show tonight. I thought last night's show, the first hour was great with that idiot climber, Anthony, or Egregious W, and Chris Difford. Which was that again, the Chris Difford interview actually similar to the Dave Mason one we're about to hear, in that I get the feeling he's more comfortable talking about himself in song as opposed to in conversation, because at the end he really loved, he said, "Oh, thanks very much, I'll come in if you want," which was above and beyond, you know. But Dave Mason played with Fleetwood Mac for a bit, played with Traffic and Steve Winwood, played with Eric Clapton, friends with Jimi Hendrix.
And also made this album that both of us have fallen in love with.
Go and get it. You can get it for pennies on Amazon, right? Dave Mason, Cass Elliot. It's just this wonderful... I bought it thinking, this no one really writes about this. It must be a stinker. It's an absolute joy. I promise you. It's just this sweet, sweet kind of lovely sort of folky pop album. Anyway, we had a bit of trouble getting through to Dave on the phones, but we did. Here's Dave Mason. It's Dave Mason! What a thrill! Honestly, man, me and my producer, Catherine, are dancing around the studio with joy. It's such a thrill to talk to you, Dave. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
You were saying this is the first solo tour you've done of the UK, is that right?
Yes.
That seems incredible, man, when you've been at it for quite a while. It's got to be said. Why now? Why have you decided to do it now?
Well, I've been trying to do something for a number of years, but this is the first time that we've found a promoter that would actually bring me over there. So basically, that's the reason.
And what can we expect when people are coming along? What sort of stuff are you going to be doing?
Well, I'm going to do some of the things, obviously, from the early part of Traffic, and a couple of them. Actually, something that basically, like Low Spark. I have a very slow blues version of it that's very cool.
Yeah.
Some of them are sort of kind of stuck a little bit to the originals. Some of them not. And then I'm going to just do a little cross-section of my stuff from my solo career, which to be perfectly honest with you, since it's the first time I've been able to come over there, I'm really unsure about how familiar people are with or not. So
how do you do that when you've made so many albums as you have in various different groups, as Dave Mason, as you know? How do you decide which songs you're going to play in a gig? Do you have all the albums lying on the floor and going, right, we'll do two from this, we'll do the first half of Alone Together? How do you work that set list up?
Mostly I just pick things that are going to be, I'm going to pick things that are actually going to be fun for myself and the band to do every night.
Yeah.
If I've got to repeat stuff, then they better be fun for us to do. And also there are things in there that, like things like Look at You, Look at Me, or again, that blues version of Low Spark. I have to leave things in there that have room for solo improvisation. Those aren't the same, different pretty much every night.
Yeah.
So I have to leave enough stuff in there that keeps it fresh for us.
Do you enjoy it?
It's a bit of fun to do. You know?
I was going to say, do you enjoy playing live, Dave?
I love playing live, and so do my band members. I'm a little reticent about the traveling at my age, but playing live, yeah.
This is it. I heard, I can't think who it was, I heard someone from a group saying they get paid to travel. They do the shows for free, but it's the travelling is what they cash the check for.
No, I get paid to leave the house is what I get paid for. Music's free.
Dave, listen, I hope you don't mind me asking, my favourite LP of yours is that incredible album that you made with Cass Elliot.
Oh.
I think it's a masterpiece, and I just wondered what your memories were of working on that record and working with Cass, who is an absolute hero of mine.
Well, I got to know her when I first came, actually in '69.
Wow.
Pretty much when I moved here, and I got to know her very well because there was actually a couple living at her house that I knew really very well from England, which I had no idea that they were there.
Yeah.
So out of that, I spent a lot of time there, and sort of developed a friendship with Cass through that. And sitting around and spending a lot of time there and making some music occasionally, and somebody, why don't you two, do a recording together? So it was like, okay, well, we'll give it a shot and see what happens. So that's kind of basically how that happened.
Cass it seems to be the glue that, and the common thread that holds so many 60s and 70s groups together, whether it be Crosby, Stills and Nash, or the Byrds, or the Lovin' Spoonful, or you, or whatever. Cass just seems to just keep popping up. She was a real character, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, actually, I always thought of her as a contemporary Sophie Tucker. She had a wicked sense of humor.
Yeah. And what a voice. And of course, you've played with so many of those. Crosby and Nash, you played on one of their albums as well, didn't you? It seems that whole era in the 60s and 70s in California, it seems a very relaxed musical atmosphere that people would just be dropping into other people's sessions. Hey, there's a guitar. Can you go and play on it for us? Is that what it was like?
Well, it was sort of like that, but it was like that in London.
Right.
That's why I played on, performed on some of Hendrix's stuff and appeared on one of the, Beggar's Banquet, and, I did so many things back in England, more so than the U.S. I mean, a lot of the stuff was, but, there was just it was a great time. I mean, you're not really thinking about it when you're there because you're living it.
Well, this is it. I love the way that artists from that era are so matter of fact about. Well, I played on I played on a Stones album, and I recorded, as you did, all along the Watchtower with Hendrix, and it's. Of course, I'm sat here as a fanboy going, flipping heck. But of course, that was your life. That was your job, wasn't it? You just had these amazing experiences.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time, I guess.
I've been listening, knowing that I was going to talk to you, I've been listening to Alone Together a lot.
Yes.
The LP, and it's absolutely stunning. And it's got some amazing people on it. Rita Coolidge, who I know was doing a lot of backing vocals at the time. And Leon Russell, who sadly passed away last year. What memories have you got of Leon?
Well, Leon, Leon was a very quiet, solitary guy, so I never really got close to him. Mostly it was, he just had a great, unique piano style.
Yeah.
And he was just part of those people that were around when I did that first solo album when I came over here. Leon Russell, Jim Gordon, Carl Radel, Jim Keltner. They were the top, they were some of the top session musicians in LA at the time.
I interviewed Leon Russell about 5 or 6 years ago, right, when I was at a music station. No one else wanted to talk to him because no one knew who he was. And I went, I'll have him. And it was, I'll be honest, Dave, he was in the room with me. It was the toughest 25 minutes I've ever had. Like you say, he's very quiet. It was one-word answers, and I'm sweating. And he went, and I said to the PR people, I said, was that all right? And they said, we've never heard him speak so much. He loved you. Oh, it was a tense 25 minutes, but apparently he enjoyed it, and,
Yeah, well, that's Leon.
Exactly. You had a stint as well with Fleetwood Mac.
I did, 94, 96.
How did that come about? And was that fun, or was it a weird time? Because obviously, Fleetwood Mac, there'd been Peter Green, and then there'd been Lindsey Buckingham, and then there was kind of the 90s version. How did that work? Oh, he's put the phone down. Don't ask him about Fleetwood Mac. Dave, you back?
Hey.
I was worried I'd asked a bad question, that you didn't... That was a dark period in your life. How dare he ask me about that? I'm off.
No.
Go on, what was it like?
Mick and I were good friends. Mick and I were just, known each other for some time, and he just called me out of the blue one day and said, listen, nothing's going on here with Fleetwood Mac, and I'm kind of would like to put it back together. Would you be interested? And I wasn't, I'm solo-wise, I could pretty much, I suppose, do whatever I wanted. So I said, sure, why not? Let's give it a shot and see what happens. And it was a mix of stuff. It was, it was great to do it. It was a little strange in the sense that, Christine did the album, but she wouldn't go on the road.
Right.
And plus, Warner Brothers really never got behind the album that we did.
And it's a strong little album, that. It's a good album.
Yeah, there's some good stuff on there. But they never really got behind it, and, c'est la vie. It was what it was, and we went and did a little, we toured the U.S. and the U.K. and Europe. And then, of course, they put back together the Lindsay and Stevie, and went back to what they should have been doing.
Do you miss? Do you think the music industry has changed so much that it's unrecognisable to you now, Dave? And do you miss the way it used to? It feels to me, having spoken to artists, it's a lot lonelier now than it was in the 60s, 70s, and even the 80s.
Well, the biggest change of all is the fact that basically, as a songwriter, as stuff is, the internet has just destroyed intellectual property.
Yeah.
And so there are no more record sales, and which is, if you're just a songwriter, there's your livelihood gone out the window.
Yeah.
So, because everybody's just stealing everything.
So well, people, why should? Well, there's that theory. People go, well, why should I pay for anything? I want it for free. And you're right. It's like going into a record store and just taking loads of albums and putting them in your pocket.
Well, it's like going in anywhere and taking clothes off a rack.
Yeah.
So that's that, and there's not much you can do about it, unfortunately, because that's the way it is. But that's the biggest change. There's no more record labels, but there's no more. I mean, the thing is, if you make a new record, there's really no way of really exposing it. I mean, terrestrial radio used to be a great format, and there used to be DJs, especially here in the U.S., which are now gone for the most part. So the other part about it is that there's no way to... I mean, you have classic rock radio in the U.S., but classic rock radio just plays the same stuff over and over and over again. And they do not, it's not like, hey, here's the latest from Dave Mason, or whoever.
Yeah.
Here's a classic from Dave Mason, and here's his latest release. You can go to DaveMasonMusic.com and, get the new CD or whatever.
Yeah.
So that little scenario, which is probably the way it would be most advantageous to do, it doesn't exist. So eventually, I mean, myself personally, the point about it is it costs money to make a record. And so to make a record is kind of an exercise in futility anymore for artists like myself. But I make new stuff at home. I have a studio. But I'll make CDs just to take on the road.
Yeah.
With me. And other than that, it's just come back to what, I've been doing since I was 17 years old, which is standing on a stage and playing music,
That breaks my heart, you saying that, Dave, that it's an exercise in futility. But I get it. Listen, I wish you the very best of luck with the tour. I'm sure it's going to be a huge success. And, you're an absolute legend to me, man. And I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much, Dave.
I appreciate you doing it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Take care. Enjoy the tour.
Talk Radio. Intelligent, organic entertainment.
Talk Radio.
We'll get you talking.